Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome to the Friday Night's Full-Length Cup Challenge. This is the Talladega race for the Xfinity Cars coming to you tonight here on Maconi Entertainment. My name is Ron Mullins, and alongside me for today's broadcast, working the comms and the cams, is Howie Burrows. Howie, it's going to be some fun. We're just off the back of doing another broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment for Fast Fridays, running at Daytona for that one, but here at Talladega, we've got one more lane to work with, about 0.16 of a mile more, and we're really looking forward to a race here tonight. I think we'll pass it off to you here in a couple of moments, but I think, again, in here a little bit quick, folks. I think we'll get that starting grid loaded up here in a few moments' time. This is going to be heck of a lot of fun, though, mind you. Starting from the pole is going to be Charles Velasquez Jr. in the number 64 machine. Alongside will be Adam Benefield, that driver of the number 83 car. We will be talking about him a lot throughout this race. The number 48 car of Adam Glatfelder will start this race in third. Cameron Stone will line up on that second row. Looking right behind them in fifth and sixth, we have Bryson Hicksonball in the number 63 and Andy Rhodes in the number 46. Starting this race in P7 is going to be Kyle Raymond. Starting in fifth will be John Williams. In P number 9, we are going to be having the number 3 car of Michael Pratchik. And rounding out our top 10 will be the number 20 of Devin Medeiros. Looking through, we have John Kelly, Mason Lowery in 11th and 12th. Starting this race in P13 and P13, we are going to have Lucas Hoytsma and Hunter Truel. Starting this race right behind them is going to be the 15th place starter of Mark Padgett and the 16th place starter of Tanner Marty. Starting right behind them, we are going to have 17th, that is Jim Shoefield, and 18th, that is going to be Austin Evie. Rounding out our top 20, we will have Matthew Boston Wheeler in the 06 and Cody Goza in the 96. Starting this race outside of the top 20, it will be Jason S. Taylor in the 60 and Noah Woods in the number 68. Starting in 23rd will be Michael Deach. Starting in 24th will be Ken Rand. And then looking at the drivers in the rest of the rows, we've got Joe Rollins in 25th, Jordan Person in 26th. Looking right behind them in 27th will be Eric Wineland. In 28th is going to be Cliff Mullins. Looking through the final few starters that we've got in this race, that is it. Those are the drivers. 28 cars. Howie, this is going to be some fun.
Well, we've just come out of madness and we're into some more, but for a whole lot longer. Talladega, I know it's the place where more crazy things happen than even Daytona, but in such a long race with stages along the way, drivers are going to need to be a whole lot more patient, as there's a long championship ahead, and not just an instant prize, but there is indeed a prize for 4 of our drivers. We are racing in a Dash for Cash event, and 4 of the top drivers from the last round are eligible to earn a special prize over $100 for winning here today. The highest performing driver of Adam Benefield, Tanner Marty, Hunter Truel, or Jeremy Clapper-Newell will receive a cash prize, and the top 4 of this race will be eligible for a cash prize in the next one. It goes on for 5 races, so there might be plenty of egos and hurt feelings on the line, but we've got a race to get through first.
And you will be able to keep eyes on the Dash for Cash drivers. Benefield in the number 83, Tanner Marty in the 29, Hunter Truel's in the 71, and Jeremy Clapper-Newell will be in the number 24. Another thing to raise, it being Talladega, we have a lengthy run to that start-finish line. The track decision many years ago, and this track was built to put the start-finish line coming out of the tri-oval instead of midway through it. It's created some good finishes. We're expecting another one here tonight. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. Charles Velasquez Jr. leads them to green in the number 64 car. Adam Benefield, one of those Dash for Cash racers in the 83, running on that high side as it stands at the present moment. We're going to see these drivers try and get a grips with this race as quickly as they possibly can. It's still a long road left in front of them, so probably shouldn't swing at the fences on lap 1 of 113.
Well, we do have 2 stages along the way in this race. They're at lap 25 and 50, and it's the usual strategy in these sorts of races to fuel save for quite a while. Just try and make sure your next pit stop is a little shorter. All the difference is about being at the front of the field near the end, and I think we're going to see a little bit of peace. I wonder if these drivers are going to be running off their full possible speed. Nonetheless, away they go, only 2 wide for now, despite the space on this track.
Yeah, only 2 wide. And seeing these drivers continue to pace around this racetrack at a steady clip of well over 100 miles an hour. Should be noted that for this race that we have coming up, you have 2 stage breaks. The first coming at lap 25, the second coming at lap 50. 4 tire sets allotted to these racers. No fast repairs, which I think between the 4 sets of tires and the 0 fast repairs, I think those 0 fast repairs are probably going to be the one that is a bit more terrifying as a number to these racers.
Well, the big one is inevitable, but you hope it doesn't happen at lap 2 of 113 laps of Talladega. If that happens, then something awful happens. I have been around for awful things happening on races before. I'm still going to bring up Martinsville until I die, but we're in peace right now. We're in peace right now. Relative peace. Drivers taking it easy. Long run to go. This is the sort of phase of the race where we have to work out what to talk about.
Yeah, just look at these drivers running around the track and talk about the history of Talladega. First ever race in 1969. If anyone's ever seen the Slap Shoes video about the first ever race at Talladega and the undignified shiitake mushroom show that event was, I always think about that when I think of Talladega. This track is a fierce one for these competitors, even in the sim as well. Talladega is the site of many bizarre moments, both in real life and online, and may end up seeing one of those in this race we have coming up.
Hopefully not immediately. These cars are quite unique on the super speedways. One big bit that differentiates them from the cup cars is just how easily they blow up. I hear a lot about how pushing really, really hard is way harder in these cars because that engine overheats in a near instant. And then you have to back off straight away. They're also very squirrely on the bump. They don't really take them squarely like the cup cars. And of course, they're made of paper. Tiny bit of aero damage will set you back tenths a lap, and that's going to take you out of this race. So, peace is on Earth here on this grid for now. Look at the point standings. Bryson Hixenbar is running quite far back in the 13th. He's got 4 wins on the go. He is so locked into that playoffs. He could be locked in 4 times over. Benefield, Llewellyn, and Strunk are also through to the playoffs. And we're going to look out for drivers like Rose, Phillips, and Padgett. They're just below the cut line, but there's plenty of time left in this season to make up some good wins and some good points.
Yeah, still a lot of time left to go in this season, and who knows, we may end up having to not necessarily think about points, but think about drivers all punching their tickets into the playoffs with wins. I certainly won't rule it out between now and the end of the season. I don't think you could rule it out at all, Howie, so this is going to be some fun. And looking at these drivers, already starting to go 3 wide, a little bit farther in the mid-pack. Adam Benefield in that number 83 car, now leading on that inside line. Eddie Rose in the 46 is your current leader on the high side. Yet again, the drivers involved in the Dash for Cash running and proceedings here tonight. Adam Benefield in the number 83 car, Tanner Marty in the number 29, Hunter True in the 71, and Jeremy Clappel-Newell in the number 24. So we'll be seeing those drivers all throughout this race and seeing varied strategies. You brought up a good point talking about our championship leader, Bryson Hixenballs. That's a 47 dropping down on the high line. Maybe just deciding, you know what, I want no parts of this absolute madness. I'm going to back out of it before stuff hits the fan.
Well, you don't want Talladega to be the race that makes or breaks whether you're going to make it through the future rounds of the championship. It's a relaxing day, or if you're taken out, oh well, it happens. We've got plenty of insurance in the back. All those drivers with playoff wins will be pretty happy that they have them by now. I believe the boss of this channel, Jeff Maconi, is off to Talladega himself as I speak. So I think he might get to witness at least some of this in person starting from tomorrow. It's one of those tracks I'd certainly love to go to if I went to the US to watch a NASCAR race, which I have to do once in my life. It gets very hot out there, but that start-finish line, designed to sell tickets, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? It's a bit of a mess of a race. It is also an iconic one, and it's something that I don't think, if you've not seen this many cars go by in person, you maybe haven't lived yet. I'll make it a date one day. We're making it 3 wide on the front. We decided finally dedicate that. I saw that from Schofield, not Philip Schofield, that's a British personality, but Schofield nonetheless, making it to the outside, trying to make the 3 wide. Turn back off of that now. Now we have it a lot further up, the 20 starting it. These are a whole lot slower.
And we also had Devin Medeiros in the number 20 car, who's, oh, look at that. He gets nearly turned heading to the tri-oval. He saved it with a bit of a help from Matthew Boston Wheeler in the 06. That could have ended an absolute disaster. That 20 car blinking in and out of existence a lot over the past 3/4 of a lap. Was going to note about that hang down to 3 and 4, but right as I said it, these iRacing drivers play me like a fiddle and nearly wrecking hang down into the tri-oval. 8 laps already completed in this 113 lap race. A reminder, stage break, first one coming up on lap 25. And those drivers with that moment nearly decide to have a yellow before lap 10, because that could have ended in an absolute disaster. That 20 car still blinking out of existence. Got some lap traffic involved in all of this as well. That right there's a number 90 car, very slow on the high side, looking to get out of harm's way as a vast majority of the field blows his doors off, heading down on that start-finish line right about there, and getting into a groove in this race. Outside that drama involving Medeiros in that number 20 car, it's been rather clean.
There's nothing like being stuck behind a blinking car at Talladega. Like, it's happening again. Like, it's terrifying. You kind of sort of know, like, do I keep straight, do I push? Am I going to wreck the field if I, like, accidentally step out of line? I don't really know what's going on. I don't know if you actually use draft as well. If someone blinks too much around you, it's not something you want to see on the track. And I'm kind of happy everybody's gotten away with it this time. Bit of a gap on that outside line. Well, that middle line now, because that free wide's still happening, but people keep trying it and then backing out and not really getting anything done with it.
Yeah, I think we're at the point of this race where these drivers are maybe a bit hesitant to try and go for the moves, go for the dives, go for the sends, because as it stands at the present moment, you've still got so much longer of this race left to go that there's no real point in trying to force the issue too badly. If you set yourself up for disaster trying to go for a move on lap 10, you're just not going to be in contention at all come time for lap 110. So these drivers looking to have a rather conservative approach into this race. Don't want to show off your cards too early on. Keep those cards tight to your chest. Make sure you can keep them clean, and just have a good run until the end of this race where you can finally start to flex your muscles. One thing that he raised a couple of moments ago, Howie, talking about going to a NASCAR track in real life. I have yet to go to a NASCAR race myself, which as the American on the show, I feel like is a bit shameful for me to say. However, what I have done is I have raced at Pocono Raceway as they've been doing the laps in the rent-a-ride sort of cars, where you can just get a ride in an old NASCAR Cup car and just drive around there. I mean, granted, you're going at 120 miles an hour, but the sound still remains, and echoing through the mountains of Pocono with the roar of a V8 engine is absolutely fabulous. So I'd highly recommend even experiencing the rumble of a NASCAR V8.
I've seen Euro NASCAR. Not sure it really counts. I've also seen one of the old Gen 4s. Might be Arctic going around Brands Hatch on a show run, and certainly does sound like nothing else in the market. But a whole pack of it will be very, very different. And they took our best oval away from me. Bye bye, the real Rockingham. I don't believe that US Rockingham track exists. The British one is right there. After all, we never got her in iRacing. Really squirrely there on that top side. Looks like the 2 was really aggressively trying to make sure it happened. He's stuck himself into the space now, but again, the car on the inside is blinking in and out. That's not going to help that lane. We've seen a lot of motion. Drivers almost like trying to follow the car ahead of them, and when you do that, it just leads to this sort of snaking the whole way down the line. It's more dangerous than just holding your line as is. But for all the talk I have about danger, we are keeping it still very much clean. Still no momentum from that top line led by Jacobson.
Yeah, and some 3-wide action a little bit farther in the mid-pack. Will No talking about our Dash for Cash drivers. Adam Benefield leading this race at the present moment is, of course, your highest placed Dash for Cash competitor. Hunter Truhl is second of the Dash for Cash racers, class in P7 as it stands at the present moment. Tanner Marty is just barely outside the top 10, and not entirely sure where Jeremy Clapper Newell is at the present moment, albeit is a little bit farther back as it stands at the present moment in this race. But here you can see the field. 3 wide as per usual in formation, heading down that back straightaway off into 3 and 4 here in a couple of moments time. Benefield, Rose, They're leading the top and middle lines respectively. But on that high side, we've got the 2-car of Jacob Simpson, who's rather impressive last time out at Rockingham. On the subject of talking about track name Rockingham, it was pretty quick in the 2-car last time out. Wasn't able to seal the deal, but is running strong at the present moment, still inside the top 5 and running on the top end of the racetrack.
Yeah, that line wasn't working, but he did stay patient. Only 4 cars, they've slowly snaked their way up. Now, there were more than those 20 cars you saw on the grid. I just didn't get to see them all go down to 40, and I believe who he's looking for. He's down below the 20s. I think Clapper Newell's in 34th right now. But as you know, on tracks like these, position here doesn't terribly matter to your finish right now. So it doesn't matter. You want track position is good. You get it in the long run here by making your choices carefully. You don't really sprint to the front on pure pace. That 2 lines drop back a bit, but I don't think they're too concerned actually with trying to be at the front. Maybe if they just run their game, don't give up, it'll come to them eventually. Would be space for a 4th line, but we're not crazy enough for that now. 15 laps in the books.
Yep, only 15 laps on the board as it stands at the present moment. In the very early stages of this race, has a little bit of stacking up in the midfield. The 42 car again, a little bit wiggly. That was Mason Lowery, currently classed in 7th as it stands at the present moment, getting a bit of a wiggle on down into 1 and 2. Got to check up that inside line a teeny tiny bit. You can see those drivers swirling around. I have a feeling that midline may get abandoned here. Some drivers assigned to play scrub and go to that top side. One of them being the 20. That right there is Medeiros, who we saw blinking out earlier on, got involved in a near yellow causing incident, hang off through the tri-oval. Only, I think it was about 6 laps into this race. So still going to be keeping our eyes on the 20 cars. They blink in and out of existence. Clearly, any fans of Back to the Future will know that the flux capacitor not working well for that 20 car. He's been sent back to the Neolithic period about 5 times thus far, ever since the drop of the green flag. 16 laps now completed. Eddie Rose is your race leader as these drivers continue to scramble around. That's Mason Lowery deciding to bail out of the middle and go to the high side.
I thought it too was almost going to cause a wreck there with the way he moved. He managed to keep it just about together, but I sort of saw in between 2 lanes, and that's when things start to go a little bit wrong. 2 still committed. Jason Simpson to that top line. He is not going anywhere at all. But seeing the heat slowly turn up, just a little slowly, the gap in the middle. Now, concerned about that 57. Cameron Stone almost ran up into the middle. Still space in the middle. I wouldn't give up on that middle lane, though. Certainly mistake, basically. Not give up on that middle lane. I think that'd be a mistake, and it could lead to disaster. If you're at the front of it, just use the position you've got here, I think. You've just got so long to run. I mean, an hour 21 at green flag race, and you know we're not staying green forever. That doesn't happen. That does never happen. So, don't be too stupid.
That, I think, is the same bit of advice that my high school counselor gave to me when I had to get my grades up. Just don't be stupid. And it seemed to work out pretty well. Got that diploma at the end of the day. But we aren't going to be staying green forever. We're not even going to be staying green for another 10 laps. We are rapidly approaching upon that lap 25 stage break for these racers. And looking to see who is going to grab the honors of that stage victory at the end of all of this as well. Will it be the likes of Adam Benefield, or is a driver like Eddie Rose in that number 46 car who has been a bit of a thorn in the side? See what I did there with Benefield as it stands at the present moment. So may end up seeing a battle for the stage win, just the first of 3 stages that we have in this race here this evening. And some lap traffic going to get involved in this battle as well. Once you have 3 wide, massive pack of cars catching up to lap traffic, that's usually going to be a bit of a choking point. So let's see if this is going to be like someone sticking their thumb in front. Oh, contact! Big crash heading down to 3 and 4. That was a 2-car spinning. I'm not sure who that was. They spun heading down into the corner. That was Jacob Simpson getting someone oh so squirrely, and they had a sickening impact. Mason Lowery getting caught up in that drama as well. Right as I was saying that we weren't going to be green forever, the first yellow coming out with a big one down into 3.
Comes when you least expect it, perhaps. Let's see if we can get another angle of that action. This is on board with Mason Lowery. I don't know if he actually is the one that first spun, but he's the first one to take a meatball flag in that. It was turned by the 2, spinning around on the top, and at that point everyone on the top is screwed. Look at that car fly. Not as horrific of a wreck as you'd think, but further up ahead, there are some extra cars that just took a little bit of evasive action, the 60 and the 6 around the front of the 68. Not a total disaster, but that's our first repairs required for Mason Lowry.
And that's going to take that number 42 car out of contention, at least for now, with the prospect of at least 2 more yellows coming out between now and the end of this race. If we only have those stage break cautions, may end up having the opportunity to get back onto the lead lap, but no fast repairs allotted to these racers, so that is going to be a bit of a kick in the shins for the driver of the 42. Spun from the front of that top line. We're taking a look at it in slow motion, heading down that back straightaway off into turn number 3. The 2, the 42, you can see them. The 42 kind of running mid-line, and the 2 just having that run, not lifting, tapping the back of the 42, and that was a huge impact. I thought they got on the fence. Look at that running on top of, I believe that was a 23 car, unless my eyes are failing me. The 42 car having a sickening ride through turn 3.
It does look to me like that 42 got a little bit squirrely on the top, and that was the big check up. A lot of cars in the pits now. Looks like the cars 12 below their stops. Benjamin first off pit road. Maybe. Let me check that. I've got a lot of numbers. It's Adam Benefield first off pit road. It's 16 cars down that all made their stops, whereas the top 15 have chosen to stay out.
And now we start to talk about the strategy content in this race that we have coming up. 4 tire sets allotted to these competitors. Tires not really a factor running around here, but fuel certainly can be. If you pull off a good fuel strategy, you're going to be smelling like a bed of roses. If you run out of gas coming to take that white flag, you're going to be smelling like a bucket of horse manure. And have it be known, you don't need to be a scientist to know that the second option is not very good. So you want to smell like that bed of roses come time for the end of this race, and get the opportunity to spray some champagne in victory lane at the end of all of this as well. We're 20 laps into this 113 lap race. Matthew Boston Wheeler is now at the front of this field. Hunter Truel, one of the Dash for Cash competitors, is slotted in second. But as we are under this yellow, I think we're going to take a quick little commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to this evening's coverage here on Maconi Entertainment of the Friday Night Lights Full-Length Cup Challenge Xfinity Series race at Talladega. My name is Ron Mullins. Howie Burrows is alongside me, pulling double duty, working the comms and the cams with me on tonight's broadcast. Matthew Boston Wheeler and Hunter Truel will make up our front row on the first restart of the night. Howie, it was a rather hectic start to this race. It took until right towards the end of this stage for us to have our first yellow, but as we approach that stage break on lap 25, I think we may see the pressure get ramped up a bit.
And provided I've done everything right, we should now have a nice visual representation of our Dash for Cash drive. Look out for this light green line on the side of the scoring tower. Hunter Truel, the only one up in the front of this pack. Everybody else, a Dash for Cash competitor, decided to make that stop and put themselves at the back. That was quite an isolated incident, not a horrific wreck. He only really caught the top lane and a couple stragglers, so I think there's more to come. This is going to be a very short stage before we go yellow. I presume these top drivers are just going to wait out the stage, get their top 10 points, and make the stop next time around. We're not going to have many laps to green.
I feel like every single time I say that we're going to see drivers take it easy, we are not going to see these drivers take it easy. So I commend your bravery, Howie, for even mentioning that as we get this restart. In a couple of moments' time, that pace car leading this field out of 3 and 4. It is going to be a quick little dash to the end of this stage. The stage cautions, I believe, will fall at the end of lap 25 instead of right at the very beginning of it. So this is going to be a quick little dash right to the end of stage 1 here at Talladega. Stage cautions coming on lap 25, lap 50, and of course the checkered flag coming out on lap 113. Unless we have a green-white checkered, which you never know. The green flag is back at the drivers back on their way. Let's see how Hunter Truex in that number 71 car, one of those Dash for Cash competitors, is going to manage this restart in that number 71 machine. Will he try and force this issue on Matthew Boston Wheeler in the 06, or is he going to get swamped? You can see Eric Wineland in the 87 car giving a nice little bump draft to Boston Wheeler, and contact, big crash upside down, heading through turns number 1 and 2. Not sure who that was, having a wild ride on the high line. I think Adam Benefield, one of the Dash for Cash drivers in the 83, may have gone involved in that potentially. Eddie Rose, though, in the 46 car certainly did. He's picked up a meatball flag, so he will have to come down pit lane to repair that number 46 car. But that was a wild ride as they had their way through 1 and 2.
There we go, taking it easy. What do we say at Talladega? Look at the 83 and the 53. This is where I think it's going to happen. Yep, the 53 around into the 46. More cars sent flying, brutal hits. These cars just fall apart. Not sure there were too many other victims, maybe a couple caught, but that is a dead race car. And that will be the end of the stage. I'm hearing from race control. So now we're going to see the rest of the drivers make their stop. Matthew Boston Wheeler looks like he's set to be the leader of the stage, but we'll get official confirmation once the lap rolls around.
And that right there is potentially going to do it. That was a big moment for Adam Benefield in the number 83 car. We saw him involved in that incident that has brought out the first yellow in this race. So not going to be a good moment for sure for him. But hey, we still have a lot of time left to go in this race. So there's anything that can happen between now and the checkered flag. As it stands, though, presently, we, I believe, will be grabbing the green and white checkered under yellow. And here's how it's going to shake out. Matthew Boston Wheeler will be winning this first stage. Eric Wineland finishes in second. Hunter Truex, the highest of the Dash for Cash drivers, my apologies, will be classed in third, and you can see the rest of the drivers making up your top 10 there. But we got some drivers coming to the pits here, Howie. We're thinking that strategy gonna be super important in reference to fuel. 4 tire sets allotted to these racers, which not gonna be too big of an issue here at Talladega. When it comes to handling racetracks, Talladega is not one of them, but that fuel strategy is still going to be vital.
Yeah, that's really the game you play on stage racing in Talladega nowadays. That's what stages do to the racing, really. You're just trying to make sure that you aren't using much fuel, and if you don't use much fuel, you save more time in the pit lane. You then maybe see those green flags come around in the third stage, but you never know. Lots of drivers scrambling off the pit lane. Go try and work out one out of them. It's a busy connection. It's a busy connection. Looks like it will be Hunter Truex out of those drivers that stopped. P15 fastest out of pit lane, and it's everybody from P15 down made their stop. So that's all the people that didn't stop in the. I think Chase. I guess somehow made it all the way up to 8th actually, despite pitting there. He may have been faster than Lightning. That's all the drivers that didn't stop in the last caution. As I hear the positions were frozen at the caution point.
And Adam Benefield will be in the lead of it as it stands at the present moment. He was one of the drivers that we saw come in during the first yellow flag period, and he's had a pretty good season up to this point. 2 wins on the board. He's locked himself into the playoffs. On the subject of the other playoff discussion, taking a brief gander at how the point situation looked heading into this race. Eddie Rose entered 13th, 8 points below that playoff cut line because of that massive accident hang off through 1 and 2. Did not get upside down, but was parked on his side in the midst of all of that. Eddie Rose not going to have a good night here. I will say one driver I'm going to be keeping my eyes on is definitely going to be the number 71 of Hunter Truex. Ever since that pit stop that we saw from Benefield, Truex has been the highest running of those Dash for Cash drivers and entered this race. You can see 6th in points, so that may end up being a driver that we have to talk about. Truex 124 above that cut line. I have a feeling that 71 car going to get into victory lane sooner rather than later.
It's a long season up ahead, though. You know, we follow a lot of the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, and we're not into playoffs until September. So, this is our first Dash for Cash round, but we have Texas Shoved and Nationals this week, all of which will have their own Dash for Cash rounds. The top 4 of each round can qualify to make the money in the next one, but we're going all around America, some road courses, some ovals, a long way to go. And then looks like a 7-race playoff dash, so you don't want to panic if you haven't made it in on this race, but it'd be nice to get a free berth in, do you think?
I have a feeling I kind of raised this earlier on, talking about how we may end up with the possibility of having all of the drivers clinch their way into the playoffs with wins instead of points. May end up seeing something like that between now and the end of the season. I can't rule it out at all. Bryson Hexenball, as much as he has 4 wins, Adam Benefield has 2 already, and that's after 10 races after last week at Rockingham. I still think we may end up seeing a driver buck that trend, so to speak, and end up having all of them make their way into the playoffs off wins and wins alone. But I am bracing myself for the second stage. The next stage break going to be coming out on lap 50, and going to be getting this restart here in a couple of moments. Will we see the same drama we saw in stage 1, or are we going to see these drivers maybe take it a bit more easy here in stage 2? What do you think, Howie?
Well, we might see a replica of what we just had, to be honest. I don't think either of the wrecks we had were, like dumb aggression or crazy blocks. They were just accidents that happened on the track, but they did very much correlate at the end of the stage. I think we're going to see some peace for a while, and then maybe a bit of intensity when we approach lap 50. The pace car's pulling in, but you know as well as me, it's an agonising run all the way down to the start finish. They'll be there eventually, and then we'll be on the other side. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that we're going to have a clean start. I'm not going to say anything because knowing my luck, I will be played like a fiddle on these drivers. Going to give us a complete opposite on this restart that we have coming up. Now the green flag back out yet again. This is the second restart of the day, and the drivers are on their way. Hey, I'm a poet, and I don't know. Look at that massive pack on that inside line. Are we going to see them break out to 3 wide in the not too far off future? Based off how broken up it is at the front of the field, I would not rule it out at all. Adam Benefield running in second in that number 83 machine. He's running good at the present moment himself, along with the 71 of Truex, the 29 of Tanner Marty, and the 24 of Jeremy Clapper Newell, my apologies, will be your Dash for Cash racers here this evening. So going to be keeping special attention on those racers, but we still got a winner to be decided. And as much as Benefield is looking to be a winner of a prize, he's also looking to be the winner of this race. That 83 car is looking fast.
Fast is relative at Talladega. That's all I say. Fast is very, very relative. If we were to call in the end of Fast Fridays, I'd possibly say, yep, oh, he's definitely going to make it. But, fortunes are going to change. I can't come up with an analogy as ridiculous as your analogy very often, but you might be able to jump in and save my bacon there. I think it's so long. Quite frankly, we've joined in this series halfway. I don't know the super speedway ringers. But you do have to be consistent to get up there. You have to be consistent to always be up in the front where it counts, and then just hope the break all works out.
And he did bring up a very good point there, talking about how your luck in these events can just change with the flick of a light switch. It can change about as quick as a color-changing Hot Wheel thrown into a freezer.
Whee!
It can change really quickly. Yeah, there we go. I had to come up with it at some point. That was a softball. I had to swing at that. But as it stands at the present moment, still waiting for these drivers to maybe decide to say, you know what, screw it, we're going to go 4 wide. During that broadcast we did Fast Fridays earlier on, our colleague here at Maconi Entertainment, Mr. Jeremy Briggs, was talking about maybe seeing some 3 wide action. Well, I have seen some 3 wide action, but talking about 4 wide action, which you can manage at certain points here at Talladega. I wouldn't want to do it if I was one of these drivers, but again, there's a very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel.
I'm just glad that half the cars don't have my name on them this time, and aren't just pushing each other to great
How dare
destiny.
they?
So I let for that race, I let one of my friends know, Captain Smith actually. I think I let 2 of them know that the race was happening, and he just decided to bring the entire army, and then one of them decided to chain wreck the field. So I'm a responsible citizen. What can I say? I'm very bit of a wobble there. Probably 0-2 on the outside. Mark Paget almost getting turned. He keeps it going forwards as this 3 wide looks like status.
Still looking smooth at the present moment. You got Cameron Stone, your current race leader, Adam Benefield and John Williams swapping spots. Williams is on that inside line, second of the drivers on the inside line, and Benefield is still your leader in that mid-pack lane. You can see the high line trying to get some momentum there as well. That's currently being led, I believe, unless my eyes are deceiving me, by the number 82. My eyes are probably failing me, though, so just keep that in mind as a quick little heads up. But still, it's still basically 2 wide with the exception of 4 cars on that high side. I have a feeling that high side going to gain some momentum once again, though.
I think if you're on that high side, you have to be playing the game patiently. You just have to be not. We didn't see it last time. We didn't see them just jump in and out the moment it was beneficial for them. We saw that too. Stay at the front and just stay until eventually it made sense. You are more vulnerable to wrecks up on the top of this track, but in exchange, sometimes it just feels people up there. I like running the outside on tracks like this. It just sort of feels like there's less people jostling for you, and really that line is one where patience gets rewarded, I think, in the long run. You get a lot more momentum down the straights, and it'll come to you in time. You can have Zen to drive this fast. I mean, it's crazy. You think, it's mad. It's a madhouse. That's easy for itself to make this work.
Yeah, you do have to have that sort of Zen-like patience just to be able to just take a deep breath and just blank out the rest of the world going on around you. Focus on your own race, focus on your own race car. Of course, keep the drivers around you in mind. If you have too much Zen-like patience, you will not be able to see the cars in front of you as they're actively wrecking and you are approaching them, going a steady click of 165 miles an hour. That's not a race-winning strategy either, but getting caught up in every single little detail is going to be a game ender for some of these drivers if they don't get in that right frame of mind to be able to just brush stuff aside, compartmentalize how this race goes, and don't get hung up too badly on something that happened on lap 13 when you're on lap 113 at the very end of this race. On lap 31 at the moment, so we're on lap 31 of 113 as we switch over to lap 32 at the present moment. I had to get that line out as I still had the opportunity. That high side has now officially gained some momentum. It is 3 wide racing here.
Always seem to be about 1 or 2 cars back, but in exchange, they got that momentum on the backstretch, and most importantly, other people aren't competing for it. I think that sometimes quite a bit of competition. People want to be on the bottom, and they have to sort of fight each other to get down there. Look, people aren't always fighting to end up on the top. You ride up top with your buddies, it's all good. Everything's great in the world until the car in front of you flips upside down and stuff to escape it. We don't think about bad things at Talladega. Think about bad things that are going to happen to you more. Something. I'm sure there was some philosopher that made that up. But you can see that them go back and forth on the momentum. I am thinking that's actually a good place to hang right now. The 0-2, he's done it before and he's doing it again. Just staying there and just ignoring the action. Like, see that middle 71 drops down into it. But I don't think he's going to be too fussy or anywhere else. It's a good place to get some teamwork done.
Yeah, let's see if we're going to have some teamwork at a plate race. Wow, who are we gonna? And we're going to see these drivers try and work together. Keyword being try. Now, will they be able to do it successfully? Let's just wait and see. If anyone's ever heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the Dale Jr. Download, which, by the way, his episode with Rick Allen, absolutely fantastic. That was a very good one. I listened to the whole of that this past week. But whenever he talks about plate racing, he has always said, and keep in mind, that's coming from Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's been considered by many people as one of the best teammates back when he was still racing in the Cup Series. He always hated teammates in plate races. NASCAR plate races, it's like a zombie apocalypse. It is every man for himself.
That's a cynical way to read it, in my opinion. But then again, I don't have enough friends in iRacing speedway lot. So I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what it's like to have a teammate really shove me around. I just know what it's like having to with my name. Apparently, those 2 and 6 almost wrecking off the top. I almost got kicked in the water panel, but they're smart at backing off these cars. When you give them a push, like you push the cup cars around, you'll find they just take it. They just take the push and they just go flying forward. That's why people love the cup cars in speedway. These cars, it sort of gets secure. You sort of touch them with the back and they wobble around. You just have to hope, I'm overdoing this, I'm going to kill them. So you really can't do the corners. You have to pick your time so carefully. These other cars will punish you for a bad push. And it's what makes split racing there a bit less aggressive until it counts, and then it just becomes an absolute circus. That just seems to be my experience with these cars on the speedways. We're not at the circus quite. We're miles off the circus. Now 57 is probably a time of this light from calling up ahead from lap after lap after lap on that inside lane.
Yeah, it is still 3-wide action through a vast majority of this front pack fight. You brought up a good point, though, talking about how these drivers have to manage those pushes. We saw in that race that we were broadcasting earlier on Maconi Entertainment this evening. We've already seen it thus far in this race at Talladega. One wrong bump, and these cars are going to be wiggling around like some soft-set jello pulled out of a fridge right during an earthquake. So that is going to be a tough one for these drivers to try and manage. One small tap, it could be a matter of a couple of inches that these bumpers aren't aligned with, and you're going to find a big stack up through some of these corners. And come time for the end of this race, when we're in the last stage, probably in the final, I would say 25 laps, will probably be when you hear some noises come out of me that you would only hear on a sound effect board. I will be screeching like nails on a chalkboard, seeing how sideways some of these drivers get with some of the ill-advised bumps that they may try and go for in the heat of the moment.
I'll leave the screaming to you because it's 2 a.m. here and I have neighbours and a roommate. So I might leave the screaming to you, but that's why you're on lead and I'm not. We'll take it. Where did you get these words of wisdom from? How much practice do you have to get to pull these words of wisdom from? Because it just seems to be a new one every time you're saying. It's like magic.
I think in terms of... Oh, look at that! That's the 83 of Adam Benefield getting popped up into the barrier, heading down that back straightaway off into 3 and 4. That's a big... Yeah, we'll circle back to that eventually. The field fanning out as a result of all of that. Benefield dropping down from what at one point was a net race lead all the way down to 7th. Could have been so much worse, though, for the 83. I wonder if there's any damage on that race car, because that was a rather significant whack of the barrier. Let's take a look at a replay of this. It has turned the front pack into a single file affair. Oh boy, my old speech impediment coming back to bite me on the butt there. It has turned into a single file affair at the front of the field, and that right there, that is the proof. You know, the analogy I said a couple of moments ago about a badly aligned bump draft causing these cars to wiggle around about as much as soft-set jello pulled out of a fridge during an earthquake. We just saw that get put on full display a couple of moments ago. And to circle back to the question, I think it's mainly because I whacked my head a lot as a kid.
I didn't mean to uncover trauma. I must apologize.
Oh no, it's not trauma, it is comedy. My dad had to put a pool noodle around the coffee table we have in our room because I kept bashing my head against it.
That's an inventive solution to the problem, though.
That is, and I will eventually get like further word from that. He's probably gonna be cooperating that, because it did actually happen. I only have like one diagnosed concussion in my life. Emphasis on diagnosed. With some of the stuff that I say on the air, you could imagine that I probably have a light case of Actually, no. I was going to say lost marbles. I lost my marbles years ago. I have yet to find them, as these drivers still run around this track coming to lap 40 here.
A lot of them have their marbles in place enough to keep this racing clean, although we totally lost the third lane. The rest of it will be missed, but clearly that movement to the outside, the car was really jumping up and down in lanes. Really wasn't ready for it. And yeah, like a different type of car would take that push probably in stride. The Xfinity just sort of panics and just goes, "Oh, what are you trying to make me do?" And then it almost tries to back itself into the wall, and then error damage. Cry about it. Seeing an attempt at that third lane for the 04, but 10 laps to go on the stage. I actually wonder if we're going to see this too wide until the very, very last moment to try and squeeze out the stage points. It's kind of a bad omen to ask you this. You'll understand in a second. Really bad omen to ask you. We're going.
Yeah, I will say during stage 1, the first yellow we had in this race came out around this same point in this stage with about 4 laps left. Well, I say 4 laps left to go. Around 9 or 8 laps left to go, and then we had the last one that eventually brought the stage to a conclusion with 4 to go. So I wouldn't necessarily rule it out. If I were a betting man, I would probably be homeless, but if I was and I actually had some competency when it came to that sort of stuff, I would say that we may end up having a disruption between now and the end of the stage. 41 laps now on the board, coming to 42 this time by just a handful of laps, well, a handful plus another hand with some fingers on the second one left in this stage. I wonder how it's going to shake out at the front of the field. Will we end up seeing these drivers decide, you know what, screw it, I'm backing out of this. I don't want parts of an incident. We've already had some drivers get taken out of contention here, so maybe playing that long game thinking, hey, we are 42 laps into a 113 lap long race. There is no point in trying to force the issue too much here.
Maybe you have the wrong mindset, though. I'll say 90% of gamblers quit just before they're about to win. I need you to think about that one carefully in your brain. Hunt through the gambling on that third line. Seems to keep trying it, seems to keep getting left out to dry. Now the 47, that's 17 even. Lovely for Kyle Amon is going to be the next to try and make it happen. Not many laps to try and make it happen, and he's out of the top 10. So it was up there for like a second, and then it just disappeared. It's gone forever. Now even he's been given up on. We might see a three-wide breakout at the front of the pack, but it will take one of these drivers to throw it out. I don't think it's coming organic from the back anymore before the end of the stage.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to see too many amazing, absolutely bizarre runs from the back of the pack. I think it is going to be a straight-up drag race involving some of the drivers that you see right towards the north end of these lanes. The inside currently being led by the 64. You can see on the outside, though, they've got some more momentum as of recent. Look at Matthew Boston Wheeler dipping out in the 06. He was involved in an incident earlier on. He doesn't want to get a case of deja vu. Yet again, 0 fast repairs allotted to these competitors. So any sort of drama, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt for sure. So let's see how it'll shake out in the final few laps of this stage. Coming to 44 laps on the board this time by, and it is still a drag race at the front. Not sure if we will see any sort of major moves. Look at the major block at the front of the field, though. Holy cow.
Saw something terrifying wide open up near with the 04 near the back. Right, you were spotting the block up front. Drivers are certainly getting a bit more aggressive. 97 sort of tandem drafting Eric Wineland all the way down. You don't want to end your race over the stage. Here comes Benefield locking in place on the bottom line. Decided I've had enough of you. I've had enough of you. I'm going to stand in Wineland's way. Wineland actually on the inside line the whole time. Might make that trade as the laps tick down. We're seeing more and more moves, seeing more and more aggression. I am feeling I'm going to be talking and it's going to blow up. Here comes a big outside run. That's a lot of drivers in there. 17 almost in. Is he in? Is he out? Can the 6 make his mind up? If he can't make his mind up, nothing's going to happen quite behind, and they've been stalled again for now.
You know, with that front pack on the high line kind of running a bit of a mix, I wouldn't say we have 3 lanes at the moment. We more so have about 2.5, as that was a driver pulling out of line. There's the 64 jumping in front of the 97 of Lucas Hoitzma. Benefiel in the race lead. The 87 of Wineland right behind. Charles Velasquez Jr., who you see in the number 64 machine, started this race from the pole. That race car is quick, and I think we're going to have to talk about him in terms of contending for the race win here tonight at Talladega. But there they go, side by side at the front of the field. Still battling all throughout. This is going to be a heart pumper to the end of this stage. As look at trying to make a run work on the outside line is the 6. The 97 going to pull out as well. That's going to leave the 64 to hung out to dry. That's Charles Velasquez Jr. in that race car. Gonna get stalled out with the 03, giving him a bit of a help. That's Austin Evie, I believe, in that Budweiser mobile. But the high line currently being led by the 97 of Hoitzma. He is kind of running both ends against the middle in a way. He's blocking the runs off from the 64 and the 6 whenever it suits his cause. It's a fun game to play, but can also end in total disaster.
Hoitzma's not really making his mind up, and he's going to have to make that mind up very, very soon as the laps run down. Looked at the outside lane has died. Wonder who will be the first to try and make it happen. Someone definitely will. He washes up the track in the way of the 64. Charles Velasquez Jr., I don't know if they're coordinating that, or I don't know if that's just an unpleasant block for a guy that tried taking the outside lane. Benefiel takes the lead again. We're not seeing a run from the outside fly into place, but that doesn't mean someone isn't going to try and make it happen. We're pushing the pusher on the inside. I think they've got momentum here.
There's a lot of runs that we're seeing these drivers slowly start to get. We're getting to the end of the second stage. They want to get lap 50 done and dusted, but everyone wants to see that lap 50 first. Who is going to take that green-white checkered first? Who's going to be at the front? There's a lot of stuff at stake for these drivers, battling for spots. Don't want to get caught up in an incident. They will not be able to recover if they get involved in some sort of collision. And you look at the drivers like Adam Benefiel. He's involved in that dash for cash. He's very quick in that number 83 car, now holding on to the race lead with that run on the inside line, heading off through 1 and 2. But there's a lot of stuff left to play for in this battle as we get to the end of stage 2. Benefiel in the 83 car. He's leading that inside line. Lucas Hoitzma in the 97 car with a little bit of a squirrely moment, hang down the back straightaways, leading the middle, because here comes the 6th of Jonathan Delaney on the high side. He's got help from the 60 of Jason S. Taylor right behind, and right behind them, they've got the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler. As much as he pulled out of lane not terribly long ago, shows you how these races can change with the blink of an eye. It's 3 wide racing heading down through that tri-oval. Let's see how it's going to shake out. Benefiel still holding his own on that inside. He's got the help from the 87. That right there is Eric Wineland in that race car. Lucas Hoitzma is partnered up with Charles Velasquez Jr. in the 64, the 6, and the 60. He's still running the high side. That sold out a little bit, though. We may end up going back to 2x2 as they're coming to the end of the stage here in a couple of moments on. That 87 car is looking really squirrely, though. I don't have a good feeling about them at all. Look at that right behind is a 57 of Cameron Stone. They've been shuffling around. There's been some sketchy moments as of recent. Hopefully it doesn't end in tears, but again, at Talladega wouldn't be the most unheard of thing if we do have a crash at the end of this stage. But here we go, coming to the end of it, coming to lap 50. It's going to be a side-by-side fight with Hoitzma and Benefiel. Coming right to the end of this stage, the white flag in the air for stage number 2, and Hoitzma going to be leading it on that white for stage 2. Still a lot of time left to go in this race, but nothing left in the stage. There's the 03, that's Evie, looking to try and get something working on the high side. Big contact being made with the 60 and the 6. Delaney, who at one point was leading that high side, he's dropping down like a rock. Look at Lucas Hoitzma. He's going to get hung out to drive by. Benefiel swapping to the inside line. He's getting joined by Wineland. The 57 and Cameron Stone going to come back as the yellow coming out at the end of this stage. A wreck in the back involving the 68 that will end the stage with Adam Benefiel in the 83 car, I believe, at the front at the time of the caution.
It's like calling a horse race, except the horse race ends early. Indeed, we saw no.
And these race cars don't get turned into glue at the end.
Well, they do get turned into scrap metal when they're done. So, make up your mind. I think I don't know. I don't know if he was the main cause of caution, but we saw him drop back. The wheel was behind. Bit of a wobble. Bit of a hit into the wall. And the 60 and the 6 side by side. They're recovered. I don't think this is the 68, so going 3 wide, there's room for 4 behind. It is into the 68 again, goes down into the 60. Could be up into the 68, quite frankly. I'm going to use to make the executive call on that one. We're going to rewind the clock. It's a bit of both, I think. And that's going to end the stage. Looks like no wide repairs, but still a bit of aero damage sometimes.
Yeah, and certainly going to be seeing a train of cars come down pit lane during this stage yellow. I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, Lucas Hoytsma was classed with the stage 2 win at the end of it all. Adam Benefiel will finish in second. Eric Wineland finishes in third. Cameron Stone, John Kelly, Adam Gladfelter in the number 48 car. Charles Velasquez Jr., Austin Evie, Tanner Marty, and John Williams rounding out your top 10 at the end of stage 2. Nice rally from Tanner Marty. While the other drivers involved in that Dash for Cash competition, haven't talked about them too much ever since the drop of the green flag, but they have been able to break their way up into the top 10, but only just at the end of that stage. I have to say I'm with you, though, Howie. About the incident that brought out the yellow, as we have drivers coming down pit lane.
Yeah, one of those unlucky things. Some pretty good racing up at the front, though. But now I think the preview of the main event ends, and the main event begins. Jason S. Taylor hitting a black flag on pit road. Who's going to be the fastest? Oh, faster than lightning, I see it's Charles Velasquez Jr. Just about darting it off the front. Is it? Oh, no, it flies by so quick, and my standing isn't quite right. It's actually John Kelly. Up in P1, Eric Wineland behind with Adam Gladfelter, a driver we've not seen run up the front. He will be starting on the inside line.
And as we see these drivers get back onto the racetrack, we have 62 laps left to go in this event here tonight. And before we get the final stage up and rolling, I think we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to bring to a beginning the final stage of Pandemonium.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Yeah, I've seen it.
End of stage 2. We are back for the big one. 60 laps of Talladega Super Speedway. It's been a decent run up to now, a couple incidents and cautions, but they're the sort of thing that happens now. It's all about to turn electric for the race win and for the Dash for Cash on our third stage.
The wick is certainly going to be turned up, Howie. We're thinking about a lot of stuff come time for the end of this race. Wondering how these drivers are going to manage when it comes to fuel. They will have to come in for a splash and dash between now and the end of this race. Meanwhile, in the Dash for Cash, Adam Benefiel, Tanner Marty, Hunter Truell, and Jeremy Clapper-Newell are the drivers involved in that battle. Adam Benefiel has been up towards the front throughout a decent chunk of this race. Will be restarting in 5th. Tanner Marty and Hunter Truell have been a little bit closer, as Jeremy Clapper-Newell in the number 24 car, I believe, got involved in an earlier incident and is not having a very good evening at the present moment. But that's how it's shaking. In terms of the Dash for Cash, John Kelly and Eric Wineland will be your front row sitters for this restart. It's planned to be the last restart, but I don't think it will be the last restart here, Howie.
I mean, as we turn down the laps, now it starts becoming worth ending your race over. Say it wasn't worth it for the first 6 stages, it's always worth it for a dramatic finish at Talladega. Although we have a bit of a while to go, about 50 minutes of estimated green lap running, so I hope you're ready and well fed. And at the top, and the 4 Dash for Cash drivers this week, the one finishes furthest ahead will win $100. Then we'll take the top 4 of this race, and they'll do it again next week. We have multiple weeks in a row of Dash for Cash. We go to Texas, Charlotte, and Nashville. $400 total dollars up for grabs. Right now, Benefield's in good position to take his first 100. If he can make top 4, he's in the run to do it again.
Yeah, and this is going to be a heck of a lot of fun at the end of this race. About to get the final stage of this Talladega race up and rolling. It's going to be 60 laps left to go. We've already had a lot of racing, already had a lot of drama. I have to worry about some strategy. I have to worry about drivers fighting for some cash, and a lot of drivers trying to grab that checkered flag. Let's see how the end of this race goes. The green flag back at the drivers back on their way. The 04 car of John Kelly going to be leading it at the early stage of this restart as they continue to go through the gears down into 1 and 2 for the first time back under green flag conditions. For the last stage of this race, one driver has really been keeping my eyes open is going to be Lucas Hoytsma. That number 97 car has been very quick week after week, race after race. Yet to grab a win thus far this season, but I feel like it's only a matter of time before we see that number 97 car end up in victory lane.
There's only so many times something bad can happen to you before eventually you get your win quick, like the draft card is on the mobile game on the outside lane. Yeah, I'm surprised. Looking at the standings, I'm surprised that Hoytsma doesn't even sit in the top 16. But I guess this is just something that happens in the long series. You get plenty of chances. We do say there's lots of time. There isn't infinite time. And eventually, you need to reach it to happen. Whether or not you punch a win for a crazy fluky super speedway win or anything in between, you just want that win. You just want that win for safety. The rest of it can come. As long as you can make it there, you have a league of your own when it comes to the back quarter of the series.
That's the thing at the end of the day. When it comes to having a big points cushion, I could best compare it to having a reserve parachute whenever you go skydiving. It's good to have, but in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to use it. So we're going to see these drivers try and push to get their way into victory lane. Only 4 drivers have punched their way into the playoffs at this point. Bryson Hixenball, Adam Benefield, Daniel Llewellyn, and Ryan Strunk are the drivers who have punched their ticket into the playoffs as it stands, still very early on into this season. And just looking through some of the other drivers who find themselves on the outside looking in. John Kelly entered this race just barely inside of the playoffs, 8 points to the good of your 13th place driver of Eddie Rose coming into this race. Of course, Rose ran into some difficulties, slammed into the outside wall heading through 1 and 2. That's not going to be a good points day for him at all, but Kelly still running strong at the moment in 3rd presently, but hey, a good point day is a good point day. May not be the victory that you have in mind, but if you can walk away from Talladega not being 50 points in the crapper, as some would say, you're still going to be coming out of this race with an ear-to-ear grin.
If we continue to run green, get the last out system now, never happens. If we get there, then it doesn't come up with a race too hard, because you don't just have to be ahead now. You have to nail your pit stop. You have to nail your fuel delta right now. You have to get out and steal first. Because flag pit stops is really challenging. You need to do it with people. Have that organised. Get them into line. Have them out at the same time, and then reach the pack out in good time. You rarely get the chance of how much calamity eventually as soon as it hits halfway. We all stop halfway, and then we're just doing a crazy dash to the end. But we can hope. We can believe for now. Until then, still 2 lanes up front. Quite a distance out to that 3rd lane, but they're running that one securely.
Yeah, we are starting to see that high line begin to form. That high line has been phasing in and out of existence all throughout this race. It hasn't been a consistent force, but when we have seen that high line arise, it has brought about some of the most hectic moments of this race up to this point. Some of those real vocal cord testers for us on this broadcast here tonight on Maconi Entertainment. And if all of you are enjoying this stream, how about you hit that like button, subscribe here to Maconi Entertainment, and hit that notification bell so you stay up to date on all of the racing action. Rise, I said that as soon as we get that top line formed, things start to get dicey. I mean it. We nearly just saw a collision heading down into 3 and 4. That right there, more contact being made. That is the number 24 of Jeremy Clappel Newell. We haven't really talked about Jeremy ever since the drop of the green flag. That 24 car is now up at the front of the field, right where that pay window starts to open. So, of all the times to peak, I guess the time is now.
Certainly want to be there, and he is leading that top line in the peace and tranquility zone for now. There's always someone that has to make it happen. The two behind him was Jacob Simpson was leading in the past, so I have a feeling that some of those drivers are sort of coordinating that play, and they're thinking about the long game more than anything else. It certainly isn't getting him trap position at this moment. You know Elba's are going to come out the moment it matters. Apart from that, I mean, the same driver ended up front. See, massively running pit road and Cameron Stone. It doesn't matter because he's up at the front anyway.
Yeah, Cameron Stone, that 57 car, he hasn't really been in the lead per se, but he's always been in the lead pack, was briefly in the race lead. Now Lucas Hoytsma in the number 97 car has taken it. We got 3 cars running P1, P2, and P3, all of which end with a 7. Got the 57, 97, and 87, all running nose to tail. Got the 24, who nearly came to blows with the 24, and the 64 currently getting a bump draft from the number 63. Lots of stuff going on all throughout this race. Some weird number stuff going on.
There's nothing like trying to track 40 numbers on a grid, quite frankly. Like, I didn't really stay up this late to do like high impact mathematics, but maybe that's what we need. Velasquez Jr., not fastest on the pit road, has also made it up to the top, and here's the contact 24 kicking off, and that is a very big one. That's the first big one of the day.
And that's Lucas Hoytsma involved in that as well in the number 97 machine. That's a 24 of Jeremy Clapper Newell. That car involved in Dash for Cash. And because there's no fast repairs allowed to these races, that may be game, set, match for Newell. He nearly flipped it. Let's take a look at his perspective in all of this. It was coming out of the tri-oval, some dicing stuff, and I think a slightly bad bump from the 2 to the back of the 24. Gonna spin the 24 into the path of a car on the inside line, and there you can see getting hit multiple times with the 24 and ramping over the 85. Holy crap.
We've seen a bit of ramping today. Not the first, not the last. Meatball flags for Cody Goza, John Williams, and Jeremy Clapper Newell. They all have required repairs. Even if your repairs aren't required, you're kind of hoping for more cautions. If you're a little bit aero damaged, you're talking as many cautions as you can to repair all the damage. That's an end of line for causing caution for the 2 as well, with the bad bump in the rear. So, yeah, that's quite the reset. Jordan Person as well. Plenty of hurt egos and hurt feelings about to drop into these pit lanes. These cars can now get a too much damage you're done, so I wonder if any of them will be leaving us for good today. That leaves 25 survivors that are not licking their wounds in the pit lane.
And that was the biggest one we've had of this race thus far. It comes just a tick before the final 50 laps of this 113 lap long race here at Talladega. Lots of good race cars taken out of that heartbreaker for Lucas Hoytsma. I said earlier on that the driver of the number 97 car was one I would be keeping my eyes on to get his first win of this season. Came oh so close to a win at Bristol 2 weeks ago. Was also involved in the discussion for the win at Rockingham last week, but just did not get the job done in both of those races. A late race penalty at Bristol, sealing the deal there, and not having the pace at the end of Rockingham, sealing the deal 1 week ago. Hoytsma had a fast race car. Unfortunately, though, the driver of the number 97 getting a piece of that action. We say that, though. Lucas is still classed in 9th. I'm a little bit surprised by that, if I'm being so real.
I think he's taken a bit of damage. He's lost a bit of pace. But I think he took a bit of a glancing blow, and he may not totally out of it. That sort of aero damage, as the spotter may love telling you, that aero damage is probably slowing you a lot. And what he means by that is you're kind of stuck on a track like this. These cars are very, very flexible They've got those sort of old school bodies that bend rather than be the little steel cages of the next gens. And it doesn't matter in every track getting a little bit of aerodynamics on the rear. It does sort of matter here. It's the sort of stuff that would buff off if there's a few more cautions to go. It sounds like there might be a few more cautions though if we can't run more than 15 laps green.
I believe the longest green flag run we've had up to this point was the one that we saw these drivers involved in during stage 2. I can't remember exactly when that yellow came out. I think it was right towards the end of that stage, right on the final lap of that stage, if my memory serves me truly correctly. So that's the longest green flag run we've had up to this point. Still have ample time to, at the very least, equal that, if not beat it. So let's see how this race shakes out between now and the end.
Oh yeah, let's just compete for caution records.
Oh, if you want a good example of a commentator's jinx, I did a broadcast a couple of days ago where I was talking about an experience of 2 drivers who were running P1 and P2 in this race, and I said how the driver who was in the race lead picked up a slowdown right towards the end of a race between those two a season prior, and ended up picking up a slowdown that cost them the win in the other dying breath of that race. Then right as I said that, the same driver picked up a slowdown and lost the lead by like a second and a half. So if you want a bad commentator's jinx, Howie, I can go tit for tat with you all day long because I am the master of summoning falling anvils to strike on these drivers' heads.
I've got a Road America 500 to be at tomorrow. Like, you have no dignity for us? I've got a teammate that needs me to drive that Nissan for like 250 miles and hopefully not wreck it relentlessly like I did at Sebring. I mean, like, we're expecting time for the job. So, we're going to have a few more cautions. But one of the good things about not having the fast repair is if we have too many cautions, we engage in a process that scientists like to call natural selection. Whereas, eventually, the drivers just start leaving and we may actually have a finish. I don't care how few cars are finishing. You know that the bottom split Daytona 500s this season, there were like 2 cars that finished. Like, I watched quite a few of their finishes. It's like, how did we kill this many people? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure in the top split Bathurst 12 this year, which I had the fortune of being on the broadcast for, I'm pretty sure that race was a total shiitake mushroom show in its own regard, with a lot of drivers running into some difficulties. And I will say with a great...
iRacing chose to do that. They were feeling malicious that day, and they were like, yeah, actually, we're just gonna cause red flag conditions, They knew what they were doing.
Being on that show for 3 hours, I got to see the best of the best in terms of some of the other comments that were left in the other live chat of that broadcast. Why is it that rain is being forced into every single special event? I will say one iRacing special event that you will never, in a million years, no matter what iRacing ever does, one special event that you will never see rain affect, the Chili Bowl. Alrighty, we're gonna get this race restarted. I mean, it's the only track indoors, so...
Can't rain tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you, Lexi Cart.
Yeah, the more you know, the more you know, and with great power comes great responsibility. I actually know who's going to be on that broadcast, and also know the producer is going to be. I may have to tell you that after we're done with this broadcast, because I think if I said it on the air, I would probably get in trouble.
It won't be
fun. Fun information to have nonetheless. The green flag is back at. The drivers are back on their way. It's Bryson Hexenball, the 4-time winner thus far this season, and Charles Velasquez Jr., your front row and pole man in this race. On the front row as it stands at the present moment. Adam Benefield, the number 83 car, giving a tap to Bryson Hexenball. Those two bump drafting, heading off through 1 and 2. Those two, in the form of Hexenball and Benefield, have been the creme de la creme thus far this season. They make up for 6 wins in the first 10 races. David Quick and Hexenball, 4 wins already. That number 63 car has been on rails.
Death, taxes, and Hexenball are 3 everything in life. He is just always doing something wild from taking home the wins, and he's got a future something behind it too. Dash for cash race, Benefield and Trill. And you might not get the cuffs out for January. Until you get box shooting lot out for $100. Would you do a shooting lot for $100? We've seen a shooting lot for $150 just a couple hours ago, so they do happen, turns out. So yes, we could see some madness for $100.
Yeah, we may end up seeing something like that. These drivers may decide to keep it clean at the end of this race. Who knows? I've seen Stranger Things, and I don't even have a Netflix subscription. A lot of time left to go. I think I saw some bumping a little bit farther in the back. These drivers deciding that now is the time to pounce with only 48 laps left to go in this 113-lap-long race. It may not seem like a whole lot of time, but keep in mind, in the first two stages, we had only 50. So I have a decent amount of time left to go in this event, and plenty of time to make up some moves, plenty of time to get involved in some extracurricular activity out there on the circuit. Both more drivers getting involved in some drama and dropping out because of the lack of fast repairs may end up seeing those big ones become fewer and far between.
This league also infamous for the 17XPQ. It's really funny to watch it kick off at Martinsville. If you're involved in 4 big ones here, then I'm surprised your car's still running, but it's not. It's not by the end of the wrong time and the wrong place, and the punishing people, but they do it for a reason. Guilty lanes, no ambition. I'm looking at Schofield, Jim Schofield. We get it right this time. Get off the lane.
And I am shocked that we have not seen a top line form. Holy cow, that could have ended in tears between the 71 of Hunter Truell and the 47 of Jim Schofield. Truell putting on a mighty block heading down into 1 and 2. That could have ended in tears between those two competitors. Truell looking to try and win the Dash for Cash at the end of this race, currently leading those Dash for Cash competitors. Benefiel slotted in 4th. Have to go back to find Tanner Marty running in P13. And I believe, unfortunately, because of one of those latest incidents, Jeremy Clapper Newell is not going to be in contention for that Dash for Cash prize at the end of this race. But it's still P3 and P4 for the top 2 in Dash for Cash, and a front 2 comprised of drivers not competing for Dash for Cash, but still competing for a victory. John Kelly looking for his first trip to victory lane. Hickson Ball looking for his 5th.
I mean, so much can happen. This is sort of crazy measurement, right? The most misleading statistic in the entire world. So it's worth noting who stayed up the front on all the time. Schofield's quite a new one up there. He was very much around the middle and was fortunate second there. Here we go, free wide, here we go. I think they're going to try making that one as well. That top lane has been well and truly cemented in. Don't try and look at that side. In your own lane. I think that's Delaney running the top lane. That top lane this time I was fully up. Oh, here we go. Down lanes the block. Now that it's the new lead.
You know, right as I said that we didn't have a top lane, we now have a top lane. It's only comprised of 3 cars, though, but we may end up seeing some drivers decide to break away from that midline. Let's see how it's going to shake out. 44 laps now left to go. Leading this race is still the 04 of John Kelly. They got some lap traffic a little bit farther up the road as well. That may break it up a teeny tiny bit. 3 wide at the front of the field involving Truell, Kelly, and Delaney. All those drivers trading blows like a bunch of boxers in the ring, and this is going to be some fun. Here's a lap car. You can see that massive pack of race cars. They're just small little multicolored specks, just barely getting picked up by our camera. On the back of the number 14 of Jordan Person, you can see rapidly encroaching upon that. That is a threatening view if ever you can see one on iRacing, and hopefully we won't see that lap car serve as a choke point, like putting your thumb in front of a running hose. I don't have a good feeling about this. That 14 car is slow on the high side. That's going to be sketchy for the 6, dipping down into the infield. That is going to be the 04 of John Kelly, potentially. I think he decided, actually no, John Kelly still running in this race. Not sure who that was that decided, you know what, I want absolutely no parts of this, and decide to pull into the apron.
A big drop is better to be there than to be coming. I'm trying to study this grid. There's simply too many of them. I'll be spotted line on the back. Just keep saying things and I'll be with you.
Nick Fleck, Blarney, Quando, Flern. 2-1 on the 5-1 at.
Wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting this.
If anyone gets that George Carlin reference, you win 1,000,000 chili beans in the YouTube chat. It's still a pretty good race as it stands at the present moment. I don't know why I sounded like I was giving a speech there for a second moment. It's still a pretty good race. We got not 62, Christ. We got 42 laps left to go, and we got the 47 of Jim Shoefield in the race lead. We saw him in the 71 have a rather tense moment not terribly long ago, and now those two are the ones that are leading the bottom and the high line respectively. So break out your popcorn, everybody. If we have a case of deja vu between those two, we may end up seeing someone strike the moon.
I think the person that dropped onto the bottom actually did this like a magic trick. Like, now you see me, now you don't. Makes sense to get out of that, you see a wreck possibly kind of thing, but now he's probably kicking himself. He kind of thought maybe it would be good if there's a wreck, but there was no wreck. In fact, absolutely drivers have lost back. He goes all the way back here to Brian Workman at the back here, and then Matthew Austin Dealer leads the next line. It's the driver back in here, isn't it? Keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, no, he's laps down. That explains it. There are people that are laps down in this pack. So now we're at that stage. That's quite hard to follow. Come on, Green.
Oh, here we go. And that is a massive pack of race cars deciding that now's the time to pit Bryson Hicksonball, the points leader. Gotta be one of them. You can see the likes of Adam Benefiel in the number 83 car deciding that now is the time to stop as well. We raised this right at the start of this stage. It is long enough whereby these drivers will have to come into the pits for a quick splash and dash. This is a necessity, and plus with 3 green-white checkered that we may end up seeing get used at the end of this race, may have to think about fuel at the very end. There's a 64-year pole sitter driving through the pace car, not having a best run through the pits, if we are being completely honest. Going to exit out 4th of those competitors. Here's Bryson Hicksonball, the highest running of those drivers who just came into the pits. Adam Benefiel is one of the drivers involved in that Dash for Cash battle, is currently going to round out your top 20. 2 more Dash for Cash drivers out there on track, as look at that, heading through, bang, into the side of the 18 car. That was Joe Rollins getting T-boned and nearly upside down as a 14 of person.
And now you gotta think those people that stopped are they kicking themselves? It's not as bad as you think. They might get a wave around. So start with the 13 car here. Cody Bird. This was the first car that went spinning. Sent 3 wide, tries to close the door on it. That's not gonna work. And that's a few victims along the way. Not a tremendous one, but you can actually see the 14 there stacked up. The 18 of Joe Rollins, can you believe it, has a required repairs flag. Hardly looks like it.
So that is more drivers. This field getting whittled down as the races, as the laps continue to go by and this race continues on. That is going to bring more drivers down into the pits for required repairs. And again, we've raised this point a lot. 0 fast repairs allotted to these competitors. Fast repairs, if anyone isn't aware in iRacing, means that as soon as you come down pit lane, stop in your pit stall, the damage immediately goes away. So that is not something that these drivers can use in this event. And that's part of the reason why we have seen a pretty high attrition rate at the moment. But, you know, with the drama we've seen thus far and 39 laps left to go, plus some drivers looking for some good paydays at the end of all of this, I don't believe these will be isolated cases. We may end up having some more yellows between now and the end.
Looks like we've locked in our fate. We've secured it. We've guaranteed it. We are going to indeed go yellow until the end of time. That was the sort of incident that was a little bit unneeded. Sent almost all of our drivers into the pit. I think the pack that just stopped are going to be able to wave around. I think they actually are lead lap now. They may be lead lap, and that would be good for them. That's that would put the bar quite high up. Delaney gonna beat him out of pit road though to claim and keep the lead.
Yeah, Jonathan Delaney in that 6 machine. We've talked about him occasionally thus far in this race. He's definitely been the center of attention when we have seen him up at the front, usually running that high side and making the 3 wide and putting on some pretty good moves in the process of all of that. So the 6 looking to have a good end to this race. Still 38 laps left to go. Lucas Hoytsma is going to be slotted in P2. And looking back, you can see Bryson Hicksonball made his way up to 7th. Hicksonball is one of those drivers that came in during that right before this yellow that we are currently in the midst of, and actually has seemed to work out well for the driver of the number 63 car, along with the likes of Benefiel and others who were involved in that breakaway of drivers to come down the pits right before that yellow flag came out. I think we will be getting the restart with, at the very most, 36 laps left to go. A 36 lap dash to the finish may potentially be broken up with another yellow. Will not say whether or not that will happen or not. I wouldn't put it past this race. It is Talladega after all, but we could see an upset.
Also, I'm just trying to make my microphone make sense right now, so forgive me clicking and flicking around. Delaney leading this pack. Hoytsma is back, though. I think you expressed some sympathy, and he's been given his chance on a silver platter. That pit stop kind of ended up working out for them about the time you want to get a caution, I think, in that situation. As now you can see Hicksonbar, he's running P7, almost like nothing ever happened to him.
Yeah, that 63 car still running strong. You can see a little bit of a tweak to the back end of that race car. But by and large, Bryson Hicksonball in a very good spot to try and grab his 5th win this season. That would be a rather impressive feat. Jonathan Delaney, who we have in the race lead at the present moment, is one of those drivers who has yet to grab a victory thus far. And actually, one thing to raise, talking about the other points situation, your 8th placed driver heading into this event, Kirk Mills, one of our colleagues here at Maconi Entertainment, who you can catch on the other Friday, the Saturday Night Full Length Cup Challenge broadcast. Apart from this week, he's not out on track this week because I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, he is at his brother's wedding. So congratulations to him. But before we get this race restarted, we can have a quick little chat with the driver of the number 18 car, Joe Rollins, now joining us here in the broadcast. As I thought we were going to have an interview there, and right as I brought that up, he left. So what's new with you, Howie?
Well, apparently my microphone works now, so that's good.
There we go. That's
I just hit buttons. I just hit buttons here, okay? My main job is just hitting buttons in different configurations in different ways. You ever heard of the Stanley Parable? He just hits buttons. So it should be loud and clear with you for the end of the race. It was a really foolish move to make that caution, in my opinion, and as a result, that makes me feel like, we might see a little bit more of that if we're going to wreck that early. We've still got 37 laps to go, still got 30 minutes of racing to go by any estimation. We're about to go green. Here's wishing the best for us remaining survivors. May the odds ever be in their favour.
May the odds ever... I'm just going to bail out on that. About to get this race restarted here in a couple of moments. If I tried doing that, I think I would have to go to the doctor or a dentist to get my tongue unwrapped around my teeth. The green flag back at the drivers back on their way. Jonathan Delaney and that 6 car gang off to a flyer of a restart. All right, dipping down to that inside line in front of Lucas Hoytsma. It's now going to be the 48 of Glatfelter holding on to the lead on that outside line. The 71 of Hunter Trull looking to pick up the pieces. Now this battle for the Dash for Cash has started to truly heat up. Hunter Trull in the 71, one of those Dash for Cash drivers, slotted in 5th at the moment. Tanner Marty, the 29 car, another Dash for Cash competitor, and Adam Benefiel, the Dash for Cash racer as well. They're all looking for some money at the end of this race. And again, it's not which one of them wins it, it's which one of them finishes in front of the other. They don't have to grab the checker flag at the end of this race if they don't want to. Certainly a win will help out the likes of Hunter Trull and Tanner Marty, who are out of that playoff window. Adam Benefiel, he already has 2 wins thus far this season. However, I don't think he would turn down a 4th one. No, he has 2 wins this season. I'm thinking he turned down a third one bit as I fail basic math. Now I have 35 laps left to go.
I don't know what just happened to the 20 car. I mean, he seemed to just get repairs required. I can't even speak. Let's just see if I see... No, I think he blew up his engine in the pits. We return to reality. That's someone that's not returning to the track anytime soon, and we are 3 wide the moment I come back. A very dodgy 3 wide, actually. Both lanes have slowed each other down hard with the side draft. We're seeing a little bit of migration now up the track. Now, if you're in a race like this, in a pack like this, where do you want to be, Ron? What is your instinct telling you? Because instincts often decide everything around here, especially if you don't have a teammate.
Is not being involved in this battle a viable option? If it were me, I wouldn't want any parts of this absolute madness at the front of the field. Look at the drivers sliding around this racetrack, dancing around. They're either sawing the wheel one direction or sawing it the other way. Those bumpers have to be perfectly in line. Otherwise, you're going to get a big wiggle on when you get a bump draft. It is a tough game to run here. If you're on the outside line, there is no room to run or hide. If you're in the mid-pack, prayer would probably be the best option. As look at that. That's a tap to the back of the 04 car. Right as I said that, spinning into the side of the 6 of Jonathan Delaney. Lucas Hoytsma was part of that save as well. As big crash heading down into the tri-oval, and that is another flipper. Hunter Trull in the 71 car, though. One of the Dash for Cash competitors is going to get taken out of that wreck.
It doesn't stop, does it? It doesn't stop. Eric Wineland just eating up required repairs. It's never going to stop. This is the destiny that this race has decided to take on. Bit of a scary moment, but that wasn't the one that triggered it, really. I'm surprised they kept it together up ahead, but I sort of had bad vibes. Let's just take a look at the overhead over here. Oh, it's just unlucky bumps again. 83 not hitting it perfectly square in the tri-oval. These are no next gens. You really, really, really have to be careful. You can see I'm trying to catch those drivers on the infield that we did go upside down, but there. Eric Wineland, can I catch just what happened to him in the old 87 car? He was just a victim along for the ride, I think. It's always happening in the tri-oval. These people are pushing just a little bit too hard in the tri-oval. He actually makes the push. He's getting away with it. He ate a meatball flag somewhere along the way, and you wouldn't think it from that. That's unusual stuff, but that's NASCAR rules. They've decided something's wrong with that car and needs checking, and I think that's kind of cruel.
I will say one thing, talking about the incidents that we are seeing heading down into the tri-oval. There's one thing working in favor of these drivers, which actually may be a bit of like a counterintuitive thing. I think it's actually hurting these drivers, and one thing that's certainly not helping out their case, both in real life and in the sim. When you head down into the tri-oval, it goes up by lane. You have a bit more room to work with out there on the racetrack, but the banking is also less, so it is very easy to lose it with a small little bump. Heading through here, you give a little bit of a bump. You've got a decent amount of banking, so you're good to go. Heading through the tri-oval, though, here at Talladega, much less banking than you have off through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So if you have a little bit of a tap, that rear is going to be a bit lighter, and when that happens, you're going to be spinning around like a top. So I've already seen that happen thus far in this race with 32 laps left to go. Gang, this race restarted with at the most 30 laps left in regulation. I have a feeling that will not be the last moment we have heading through the tri-oval.
And a part of this is why I find these cars so scary on the super speedways. They are uniquely scary on the super speedways. It almost feels a bit like they weren't made for them sometimes. Well, they are based on the old car of tomorrow, so they definitely do have a bit of blood in them, but they are probably the hardest modern NASCAR to really drive around the super speedways effectively. Next gen's very different because they have to play very side drafty to each other. They have very different aerodynamic effects. the trucks, everyone loves throwing the trucks around. Everyone loves just smashing into each other with the trucks. It's like a guilty pleasure of mine. These cars, I mean, it takes patience and luck, really, to hope your bumps go well and hope you can hang on for dear life. It's scary every time, even if you're with someone that you can trust. And the result of it all, with a few drivers drop near the back, but we still have 6 of Delaney up front with the 97 of Hoytsma behind. But yeah, where are those Dash for Cash drivers gone? Tanner Marty in 16th looks to be the only survivor, and even then, hardly a survivor.
Yeah, right as we were talking about how the Dash for Cash was probably going to be a dash to try and grab that checkered flag. It was probably going to be a matter of those drivers battling for the race win. No, I will retract that comment, considering how all of them were struck by a falling anvil involved in the exact same incident. So that is going to be sticking my hand up and saying, look, sometimes comments that come out of my mouth age like milk in the Nevada sun, and that clearly was one. Yeah, exactly, it's a curse. Commentator curse.
It's just what you do. You are very good at commentators cursing. You're very good at commentators cursing, I've got to say.
It's a gift.
Yeah, well,
that's part of the reason why drivers don't really like me, because usually whenever I mention them, the next thing that happens is, tonk, there goes a falling anvil on their head.
But it's a real talent, you know. I know some people that wish they could have that ability. I used to have it. I don't know what happened to me, sort of lost it as I grew in my later years. But some people, they're just born with the magic, and it means we're going to be here for a whole lot longer. But we're ready to go 1 to green one last time. Who am I kidding? We don't want to see damage up on some of the cars up front. That on the outside lane, that 33, I think, of Ken Rahn's got a lot of bumps on the rear. We're seeing even the cars up front, they're losing aero to each other, and this pack at the front is going to start shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Only really a few spotless drivers. And are we risking the DQ? Should I say it?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point that he raised there, Howie, talking about those disqualifications. 17x is the limit for these competitors, and let's run it this way. Let's say you lose control, get involved in an incident in the earlier stages, and then proceed to have another 4x. You'll find yourself on 10 if you got involved in 2 incidents. Now, some of these drivers have been involved in a bit more than that. Some of them have gone off the track. Some of them have had some sort of extracurricular drama. The chances of us having a disqualification, I won't say they're as high as they were at Martinsville, but I wouldn't say they are 0 either. May have to keep an eye on that. Some drivers picking up the black flag before they can pick up the black and white flag in a checkered pattern. But let's just see. 30 laps left to go in this race here tonight, and the green flag is back out. Jonathan Delaney in that 6 car, jumping down to the inside line, trying to get that drift from Lucas Hoytsma in the number 97 on the high side. It will be right there, the number 04. That's going to be John Kelly leading that top line. John Kelly has been a driver that's been rather impressive up to this point. We've talked about the point situation and how coming into this race, John Kelly found himself just barely in the playoffs, but this is a rather well-composed drive from Kelly.
It's a pretty weak top lane right now, but every time I say it's weak, it grows and it grows and it grows until it is about the strongest you can muster. So don't go anywhere on that. Big gap available for someone to push into or take. Curious if he will. I don't know if he quite has the pace to get alongside. So that will remain. But the 48, he's going to jump up. The space remains in place. Very unusual to have a gap that big at this stage. But it will get closed up quickly enough. As I said, the 64 now taking his place. That top lane seeing a lot of attrition. A lot of people moving in and out and just trying to get out of there.
Yeah, there gets a certain point in some of these races where you're like, you know what? No, I just want to get out of harm's way. I want nothing to do with any of this drama. Shoefield, he's got to be stuck in the midst of some 3-wide action. Hang down to turn number 3. That is not a good situation to find yourself in at all. Oh, look at that. That's the 04 Mega Wiggly. That's a big moment as Matthew Boston Wheeler, right as we were talking about, he's been struck by that DQ. Matthew Boston Wheeler in the 06 car going to be the first driver to pick up that disqualification flag, as that was a big moment. Holy cow, that could have ended so much worse for the 04.
I heard him making noises in anger on the microphone over this one. That is frustrating situation to be in. I'm hearing you can't keep it off the wall as I just keep an eye on what quite caused the DQ over here. Stuck right behind the 04, stuck between two. It's big wobbles. It's big wobbles. It's a 0x into a 2x. And that's all she wrote. Abducted off the track. You've got to be involved in a lot, though, to eat those DQs. It all adds up over time, but the first of possibly a few more as this lead pack really shrinks. It's 13 cars. Benefield at the back. Hickson Bar leading the next. He doesn't have that speed right now. Maybe he should try pushing down the gas pedal a little bit harder.
And your current leader of the Dash for Cash competitors is Hunter Truel, occupying the final spot inside the top 10. He's involved in this spaghetti nonsense that you see at the front of the field. He got 3 cars on the high side, 5 in the middle, and 5 on the bottom as well. It is a pack of race cars that you've got on screen at the present moment. 13, lucky number 13. Maybe it's a sign with 27 laps left to go here. As we got to shake out, Charles Velasquez Jr. finds himself in the race lead in the number 64 car. He leads that midline. The 47 of Jim Shoefield is your leader on the outside, and leading it on the inside is the 6 of Jonathan Delaney. We've talked about Delaney a lot throughout this race, and I have a feeling we may be talking about him more in the final 26 laps now, because that 6 car, I'm not sure what it is. He has had some mustard in that car.
It's always been the same few people. People will claim it's just luck, but it's always been the same few who've been a part of the game from start to end. There's a little. You could get materially unlucky, but you're not at the front of every restart unless you've practiced this kind of racing for a very, very long time, and they're running dedicated 3 wide with about 26 to go. It'll be 25 pretty shortly. Top lane slow up for a bit, but I think it has some hidden power in it that's going to become unleashed very, very soon. Cameron Stone? That's a required repairs. He just wrecked something. Unfortunately, Cameron, you're going to be dragged in to watch and explain, because that was an on-track incident. Bit of a dodge there from the 09. What happens? Does his engine just blow?
Potentially.
Yeah, you can take a bit of engine damage and then your temps can get too high. I'm listening out. No?
Huh.
Well, he's popped. He's stuck in those pits now. See ya. We got a race to finish.
Oh, I guess he won't have a trip down to I'm not sure at one of the burger
It might
stands.
have been tires. He just got that cleared.
Potentially, that could be it. As much as tire wear, not a big factor. If you get caught up in some drama, I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. Actually, now I will amend this for my goofy phraseology. You don't need to be a rocket surgeon to know that if you get caught up in some sort of drama and you spin to the inside wildly out of control, those tires are going to be reduced down to atoms floating through the air. So that wouldn't shock me at all if it was actually tire wear that brought him back down into the pits, because that can happen.
I've never seen it. I've never seen someone blow a tire under green flag racing at Talladega. There's a first time for everything, I guess. The 13 there, Woody Bird, a bit wobbly. There's a bit of contact with the outside lane. It's still happening. That's going to push the outside car back a bit. Are they going to keep coming to blows? Even the 14 of Adam Glatfeller, I really don't want to see another big bad one right now. He's going to duck in behind. It doesn't seem like he's consistently staying in line. Almost there again. Darting up to the top, then dropping into the middle. He's really wobbling around. I think a bit of aero damage got taken out of the rear. This is looking dicey. I don't like it.
I don't like it at all either, Howie. This is looking way too tense, blinking wildly in and out of existence as the 82 car. Man, need to keep tabs. That is Cliff Mullins with the internet connection issues hanging down that back straightaway. We saw earlier on tonight how some connection issues can kind of create some incidents out of thin air. Man, I'm seeing it yet again. There is just a certain amount of tension that you see with all these drivers. The bumps are getting a bit sloppier. You're seeing these drivers get a bit more aggressive, bit more racy. something I feel is going to break in the next 23, coming to 22 laps left to go in this race, though we're nearly going to have an incident with a driver rejoining the racetrack as they went down into turn number 1, but we are good to go there. But still, nevertheless, the tension here at the front of the field, it's just building and building and building and building. Eventually, that pot is going to boil over.
That's the best analogy I use for these races all the time. It's a pressure cooker waiting to boil over. And you can certainly see either fatigue or desperation kick in. We're going to bring up Dash for Cash one last time because Benefiel and Troel are side by side. And one of them that finishes further up ahead will claim $100 out of this race. I think there could be blood, sweat and tears out of those two. They could come to blows at any point. They're a bit off the absolute leaders, but certainly not far enough off to make a move for the win. Only a couple rows back as time ticks down for all of us on this track. And it all gets a bit scarier turn by turn.
With that time gradually ticking down, does it seem like an alarm clock where there's a sense of dread, or does it feel like there's an alarm clock on a bomb? That's a real question.
Are you implying that the alarm clock on the bomb doesn't have dread?
More dread.
Okay,
a sense of doom. There we go.
Doom. I like that. Yes.
Yeah. Is there a sense of dread for the end of this race for these drivers, or is there an impending sense of doom for these drivers?
Will the anvils finally be made real? Lots of thought and lots of questions to be had. They're taking it easy for now, though. We're back to 2 wide. We've not seen any big dramatic moves. But as the laps go down, the big one is due. I think we've had some big ones, but I don't think we've had the big one. Not quite. This pack goes back to 17 cars, and there aren't any cars truly off the back. Hicks and Bars still got a bit to make up. Probably some damage. It was a very in-jest comment about the gas pedal. I presume that everybody's gas pedal works at a maximum right now. Their big problems are with little bits of aero damage they've picked up side by side. He hasn't been able to join in, but if another big one happens, he could make a good break for it. There's still so many questions. Bit of wobbling up there from Kyle Ammon on the top. Who's going to be first to make it free?
I have a feeling when we see that breakaway, as we see the 04 car pulling out of line a little bit farther in the back, trying to get something to work, are we going to see anyone else decide to break into that top line? We are getting rapidly approaching upon the end of this race. 19 coming to 18 to go this time by, and that top line not really getting any momentum, but I can see that's the 71 maybe looking to pull to the outside line. There we go. There's another taker. That right there, I believe, is a number 80. Actually, no, that's a 47. My apologies here, of Jim Shoefield.
Oh, here we
pulling
go.
out, but look at that contact being made, spinning down into the infield. That's Adam Benefiel getting caught up in that. I think Tim Phillips was involved in that. Bryson Hicksenball, I believe, got a piece of that drama as well. They stay green with a massive amount of heavy hitters in this race, spinning to the infield. Hunter Truel now going to be leading of the Dash for Cash competitors. But yeah, look at that, ending in tiers 97 and 83, along with the 27. I think it all started with a tap from the 17, from the back of the 83, stacking it up right behind after Truel on the 71.
I knew that was staying green the moment they got below the line, and so we continue, but they're off and they're out of this game until another yellow brings it back. Don't think the damage was that severe. Look at the moves kicking off. It was a 71 that caused the incident. 17 doing it now, bumping and banging, kicked back a bit. It's getting sloppy. It's getting dangerous. Big space open up in the middle. See Jim Schofield willing to take it. Almost jumped up and jumped down. These drivers, it feels like they're crabs in a bucket, dragging each other down right now. Because for all of this playing, Delaney and Truel are enjoying their runaway. Truel was a part of that last incident, so he's going to count his lucky stars. He's ended up in P2. Could be controversial, but for now, he's just got to run it.
This is war at the moment, and there is no love in war. It is just straight up battling all the way to the checkered flag. Let's see how it will go. The 6, the 64 side by side, the 71, the 47 side by side. 3 wide action involving the 04, the 03, and the 17. That 17 car has been really dicey as of recent. Look at these cars wiggling and wobbling their way around this racetrack. Seeing them bump draft in a state like that is so unbelievably terrifying. I am fully expecting something to break here soon. The tension has been building. It has been a constant increase in pressure from the drop the green flag all the way to the point in this race that we find ourselves in right now. Only 3 laps away from 100 laps on the board, 113 in total for these competitors, and it's going to be Jonathan Delaney leading them in front of the number 64, who's leading that midline. Look at the 04 car. That's John Kelly. He wants to turn a good point stay into a locking into the playoffs. I think he has a good shot at the present moment. He's got the bumping assistance from the 48 of Adam Glatfelter. He's been risky ever since the drop of the green flag. That 48 car has been involved in the front pack battle pretty much since the drop of the green flag all the way through to now. These drivers that we see at the front, there's a mix between ones that we've seen running at the north in the field, take our current leader of Velasquez, who started from the pole. But then you have others who are in a rather unfamiliar position, and you can tell that based off how sketchy they are running around here.
You really just don't feel like anyone has it safe. I don't even think the leaders are safe from a horrible incident kicking off, but everyone's in it to play it. More lapped cars they're calling out for up ahead, as we see Jim Schofield in with a real run up at the front to possibly win this as well, but he loses support straight away. Kyle Lyman taken up to the outside and leaving him totally out to dry. It's only going to be the 04 that catches him next. There's so much drama happening in the middle and the top, whereas the bottom is just peace and tranquility. The bottom's where you want to be, but there's only so many spots in the queue, and people are losing their chance very quickly. Look out for Austin Avey, who's not talked about the Bud free car, but now he's in the right lane at the right time, and he's going to be a kingmaker, I think, among these top drivers. Even Hixenbar at the back, clearly damaged enough to not have full pace, could take advantage of something horrible here.
That was a very good point that he raised, though, Howie, talking about the difference in lanes. At one point, that inside line was peaceful and tranquil. It was a nice day at the spa. The outside lines, on the other hand, though, more resembled a mental institution. I think these drivers are going a little bit kooky. They are going stir crazy, running around this track lap after lap. We also have to think about fuel as well. Haven't had a yellow since that one we had a matter of about 30 laps ago. I wonder how these drivers are doing on fuel at the very end of this race. Are they clutching at straws? Are they going to have enough to make it to the end of this race? Only time will tell. The 17 maybe scraping the wall, heading off through 3 and 4 a couple of moments ago. More drama continuing on lap 100, coming to 12 to go this time by Hunter Truell, your leader at the moment of the Dash for Cash competitors. The next closest Dash for Cash driver is Adam Benefiel, who we saw involved in that drama earlier on. He's in a pack all of his own some. If there's a yellow, Truell may be in a little bit of trouble, but as it stands presently, he is on track to win that grand prize at the end of this, which I think is part of the reason why he's not really fighting this. He's allowing these drivers to go pack. He's like, you know what? The worst thing I can do is try and gain a spot, spin someone, bring a yellow out, and then I have a battle on my hands for the Dash for Cash. Truell, he's taking it easy. He wants nothing to do with that madness and is still continuing to brew. Look at the 64 car now starting to do the defensive line, trying to block off the run from Schofield and Delaney.
I think look out for Schofield here. I think he's been right time, right place, making his work at the end, and he's been remarkably aggressive, almost dangerously aggressive, but that's all that matters right now, is just being up at the front, and he's always choosing his lanes. He's always trying to be dynamic, but he leads the pack right now. There's a few of these drivers that have had ambition and have had a drive to get up there. Certainly saw not quite that ambition from Truell. It's a good point that he might just be dropping back to keep that $100 to himself. Now holding on the bottom line, the 47, and that's how it led to a swap for Kelly, who takes the outside. He's just about ahead going into turn 3 and 4. Of course, calling these lead changes is a little silly. It really could be either driver. If we keep running, this would become a drag race.
Oh, it is already a drag race, and it is going to be a flat-out bare-knuckle fist fight from now all the way through to the fall of the checkered. Coming up in just 10 laps time, Jim Shoefield is your race leader. John Kelly and the 0-4 is holding on to the lead on the outside line. We still got some very intense competitors looking to make up some moves. I'm still going to be keeping tabs on the number 64 of Charles Velasquez Jr. Started this race from the pole, has been involved in that lead pack discussion from the drop of the green flag all the way through now to lap 103. He's currently running a second on that inside line. I think Velasquez may be in a good spot here.
I think it changes so quickly and so often at this stage. But Velasquez has been a driver that hasn't led many laps, but he's always been there and always been in place. You can really now just see there's nothing off the back of this pack. Tim Phillips is 16 seconds back on the rest of them. Still no ambition to hold it 3 wide for good, but that bottom is wobbling around. Jim Schofield not holding that line. He's going to keep it together into now, and how many laps until someone makes that third lane breakaway that they're going to use to try and win, and how dirty is the block going to be?
Once we get into that blocking game, we will have to think about the possibility of there being a huge one at the front of this field. I can't rule it out. I don't think you could rule it out, Howie. Once you get into that blocking stuff, it becomes a very dangerous game. You know, plate racing is tricky enough as is. There's so much stuff that's riding in the back of your head as you pace around this track at a steady click of well over 250 miles an hour. When you start having to worry about blocking lane after lane after lane after lane, swapping sides around this track all the time, it is very similar to juggling chainsaws. Eventually, you'll get your hand cut off and you're going to be in for a world of hurt. So let's see if Jim Shoefield is going to decide to stick his hand out there, and it's either going to end up in him getting a $100 bill in his hands or he's going to get chopped off. Either way, though, that reward is kind of worth the risk for these drivers, and that's part of the reason why this race has been as intense as it is. We got some lap traffic a little bit farther up the road, and it's not 1 or 2 cars. It's a bit of a pack that these drivers are catching up to.
Race control has asked them to get out of the way and not interfere with this. They are being held a lap down here with no Woods and Ken Ran in there. They'd be lapped when the leaders come around. They're sort of having their own race, but I heard complaints between them that, hey, if we keep racing, we are going to lose this lap soon enough. Jim Schofield, I think either something bad will have to happen to him, or he'll have to get quite unlucky to give up this iron grip on the bottom lane. I'm not seeing Velasquez Jr. make that move up yet. But any prediction I make often gets turned into nothing on these plate tracks. You can see the moves they're making up ahead on the road. I hope they do successfully get through and around those lap cars. They're asking where to go right now. Not getting an answer back. Going high, it sounds like. So we're going to go too wide to get around them. This could end badly. Let's hope it doesn't.
Yeah, keeping our fingers crossed we have a clean and safe conclusion to this race. Both the amount of pressure that we've got going on at the moment, I can't really say how this race is going to end. Shoefield is still your leader on the bottom line. The number 64, you can see, of Charles Velasquez Jr. is your leader on the high side. They got that traffic to worry about. Let's see if they will be playing ball or if they will decide to hold these drivers up a little bit. I mentioned this earlier on. Those lap traffic encounters can basically, in terms of these battles up the front, be like sticking your thumb at the end of a hose and turning it on. That pressure point going to create a much different experience for these drivers. It looks like they will deal with that lap traffic surprisingly smoothly. Jim Shoefield still in the race lead. Jonathan Delaney in that 6 car looking to get the move done. They single fouled out briefly, keyword being briefly. The 64 car trying to block off a run from John Kelly. This is where things get racy. Here's Truel, Hunter Truel in that number 71 car. He's one of the Dash for Cash drivers. He's leading the Dash for Cash competitors, and he's pulled to the outside line. He will be the Pied Piper on the high side. Let's see if anyone is going to try and make an even higher line. There's the 17 looking, the 13 right in tow, and the 82 of Cliff Mullins looking to form a high side here. We may have a 3-wide pack at the front of this field coming to the end of this race, now with 4 to go this time by.
I thought Truel had given up. It turns out he was just hibernating because he now wants to lead a line again to try and take this win. Nothing like a Talladega win to get onto your playoff schedule, and he'd be very much looking for it. He is off that top 16 entirely, much like Jim would like that win as well. He's sitting in P7, 3 wide. He's getting left out to dry. Truel's going to need a teammate here to make this work, but they've all decided to abandon him this time in the 07's behind him. The 17 might join in. The 13 is to make their mind up. All this fighting, though, it's killing it out front. 64, Velasquez Jr. looking to try and make this the drag race. Oh, here it comes.
And contact spinning around is the 71 into the walls. The 04, multiple cars getting caught up in this late race incident, and more drivers spinning to the inside wall. That was a big one. The yellow is that will send us into overtime territory. It all started when the 64 of Velasquez Jr. pulled out of lane. The 71 car really getting dicey, and contact with the 03 is going to spin. You're at 1 point race win contender of Hunter Truel. I think he actually had a pretty all right save in all of that. Yeah, he kept it going in a straight line. As you can see, these drivers knocking the crap out of each other around, and there was more contact involving the 71. That's going to give a little bit of damage to the front bumper of that race car, but with that yellow, Jonathan Delaney is your race leader. This yellow will bring us to the end of regulation. 113 laps will be done and dusted, but there are 3 green-white checkered attempts allotted to these racers. When that green flag comes out, they have 1 lap to get it sorted, and once they get that white flag, the next flag will end in yellow or checker. Doesn't matter. We are in that territory now, Howie, and it is going to be a bare-knuckle fist fight of a restart.
Kyle Amon taking a meatball flag in this, and also a DQ. We lost the car of Michael Deitch. He hit a 17X right in time. That's some hard smacks, and that's led to an end to that. And we're going to go 2 wide again for the green-white checker at Talladega. I mean, it felt inevitable. It felt as if we'd never get anything nice around here. We're going to get carnage, and this might not be the only one. A lot of cars involved in that. Cody Bird in 6th, Truel in 7th. His car still runs. Looking out for Hixenbar. He's dropping into the pits. Makes sense to get all the repairs you can done now before the pack rejoins you.
Another thing to raise, talking about those drivers coming down pit lane. This is one important thing to raise, talking about the end of this race and those drivers coming down into the pits, is the fuel discussion. No fuel limits for these drivers, so they can fill that tank all the way up to the brim, but the fuel doesn't last forever here at Talladega, even for drivers having to lift and take those runs. If you find yourself in the draft, obviously going to get better fuel numbers, but we may end up seeing some drivers run out on this first green-white checkered attempt. And bearing in mind, folks, we have 3 at her disposal, so we may end up seeing this race run, instead of being 113 laps as it was scheduled to be, we may end up seeing it stretch as far as lap 125. I would not rule that out at all, and frankly, I'm kind of expecting it to a certain degree. With the drama we've seen up to this point, the chances of these drivers finally getting finally getting it all sorted out is rather low for this restart. No, this is nothing against the drivers. This is just a matter of you have contenders looking to win $100. You have drivers looking to punch their ticket into the playoffs. A race win at Talladega is bragging rights for the whole season, and just to make it to the finish is bragging rights as well. So really, for these competitors, it's going to be a absolute fever dream on this first green white checkered attempt, I should say.
I don't want to be there. I don't even know if I want to look, but I have to look. That's unfortunately my job. There'll be nothing quite like commentating Talladega blind. Schofield on the inside, Velasquez Jr. on the outside. Velasquez Jr. has always been a contender for the win of this race, where Schofield made the second half of that last stage his own. I think the odds are good for either in a double file restart setup like this. We reset the lanes and drivers are probably going to stick where they are, possibly even make the third out of desperation. There's still a lot of race ahead, I think. There's nothing quite like a plate race getting boiled down to, 3 laps. Who leads all the progress we've made when it just goes down to this?
Yeah, it all comes down to this. After 113 laps plus some change, accounting for this late race yellow, bringing us into green-white checkered territory, it is all going to come down to a battle of nerves, a battle of wits. Where do you position your car? Do you decide to take those runs? Do you race to the white, or do you race to the checkered? If you go for a bonsai move trying to take the lead right on that white flag, you may end up finding yourself get bit by that bullet at the very end. There's a lot that is in control of these drivers. There's a lot that is out of control of these drivers. So I really, thinking about how this race is going to finish, I need to look at the drivers that we have battling inside the top 10. You look at a driver like Jim Schofield trying to grab the win. That would punch his ticket into the playoffs. It would do the case for a lot of these drivers. Daniel Llewellyn, he's already punched his way into the playoffs. That would be a second win if he can get it done restarting this race in that 07 car in 4th. You look at the drivers of Hunter Truex and Adam Benefiel. Those are the only 2 drivers in that Dash for Cash group who are going to be racing for the $100 on this final restart. There's a lot of stuff to worry about, even fuel as well. If these drivers maybe decide to short fill on one of their stops, they're going to be in some trouble at the very end of this race, sputtering to the line, running into some difficulties, maybe having to come in if this isn't the final green-white checkered attempt in this race. Let's see if it is so. That pace car has come down pit lane. The field now in the hands of our front row sitters. It's Jim Schofield on that inside line, the 47, and he's getting spun. A big stack up on this restart. They pile up, and a disqualification for Adam Benefiel in the 83.
I mean,
there's still green flag, though.
Yes,
I thought that would have brought out a yellow. Okay, so the yellow is now out.
What did we just do? 71's engine just blew up. Just saw that. I mean, I kind of thought we might have a normal day. That was bizarre. That was absolutely bizarre. Let's try and get the best view of that we possibly can, but that seems like a very dodgy restart.
Yeah, let's load up a replay of that. That just looked like the 47 car. I mean, forget starting in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. That's saying something because the Xfinity gearbox only has 4 gears. I feel like he started in 8th. Let's take a look at this. It's going to be an end-of-the-line penalty for Jim Schofield. That's going to take him wildly out of contention, as if this incident didn't already do that. There you can see.
No fuel?
I don't think the... Yeah, maybe ran out of gas. I mean, let's... If we can hold off on this for a little bit. No, keeps rolling. Just... did he not know if we were getting the race restarted there? Did he... What? It just didn't go.
Let's listen carefully.
Bizarre.
Let's listen carefully. I don't know. The car just doesn't fire.
That is bizarre.
And the line penalties also given out to the 71 Hunter Truex. That must have been pit entry based. I mean, I would call that the green white checkered restart of all time, quite frankly.
Yeah, that was a restart that happened here in the year of 2025, and I'm not really sure what else to say other than that. So that is going to be sending us into the second green-white checkered attempt of the evening. We are past regulation, folks, so we are into green-white checkered territory, and this is how that first green-white checkered restart went. And yeah, the 47 just not going. Lots of other drivers getting stacked up and all of that. I think that was the 84 car, if my eyes weren't failing me, that got a pretty big hit up the rear and had the back end of that race car about 3 or 4 feet up into the air as a result of that collision. Now that we go into the second green-white checkered, though, Howie, I gotta wonder how these drivers are doing fuel-wise.
I would have made sure to fuel enough for this sort of nonsense if I could. I mean, unless you couldn't fit it into the tank, unless you're literally about to hit the end of regulation. I mean, thankfully we only have the 3 green-white checker periods. Bryson Hixenbaugh's back in 6th. Velasquez Jr. now has a new series of opponents, but none of these are drivers that have been in for a serious shot up to now. The whole bottom lane got wiped out, so now we have Daniel Llewellyn, Cody Bird, Lucas Hoytsma. I mean, whoa, that's a miracle. And Bryson Hixenbaugh, so some strong drivers here, and some who were never a factor in this game up to now. I didn't even notice the 07 of Llewellyn up the front. I know Cody Bird was sort of around for a bit, dropped back just a little. Apparently, we could hear the engine sputter. He was out of gas on the inside lane. You get a little bit to, like, sputter along once you stop the car, which is how he was able to restart it in time. But it doesn't mean you're going to get full revs out of that thing.
Either way, though, that will send us into the second green-white checkered attempt. And in the midst of all of that, saw a pretty big development. The number 83 of Adam Benefiel getting disqualified. Now, he is a driver who's already locked into the playoffs, has 2 wins up to this point in 10 races thus far this season. So no harm, no foul done in reference to point situations or anything of the sorts. However, the driver who spent a vast majority of this race at the north end of the field will not be able to get that Dash for Cash prize at the end of it. But mind you, Hunter Truel's not smell like a bed of roses either. He picked up that end-of-line penalty, which I believe he will be serving on this restart that we have coming up, currently classed in 10th. Outside, so Benefiel, obviously, he is out of contention in this race. That, I believe, was a disqualification done through iRacing incident points there, so that is not something that any sort of race control member had any say in. Tanner Marty in the number 29 machine will be restarting this race, I believe, in 17th, as it stands presently, with how it is marked on our ticker currently. There's a 29 car, very, very far back from the pack, heading down the back straightaway right now. Hey, I'm a opponent, I don't know it. But that is going to be potentially your driver to win the Dash for Cash, depending on how this penalty shakes out for Truel. I'm not really sure. Yeah, there you can see Truel, so having to drop back a lot. So let's see. This may end up being a straight-up fight between the 71 and the 29 for the Dash for Cash prize here.
Where is that? 21 still far back? How far does Truel have to drop? Sometimes it doesn't actually put you at the end of every car in the lane. Blame iRacing Race Control for that one. He entered a closed pit. That's where his end-of-line penalty came from. Yes, he is dropping all the way to the rear. Tanner Marty still rolling around the track. Probably will start up in front. He doesn't have the penalty, and they're going to be drag racing, and we can't even watch that because we've got a drag race up front for the race win.
Yeah, and it is going to be a bare-knuckle fist fight, as I said yet again. We're keeping our fingers crossed, though, that this second attempt at a green-white checkered is going to be a bit more smooth. That last restart was unfortunate there. You know, we talked about how much the fuel may affect this finish, and just saw that get put on full display a couple of moments ago. This is going to be, I always like to say in these situations where we have 3 green-white checkered attempts, this is it always feels like the last one where these drivers have true free reign. If they get it wrong this time, hey, attempt 3. Once that green flag comes out on the final green-white checkered attempt, the next flag will end it regardless of whether it's the yellow, the white, or the checkered. You get the deal. It doesn't matter what flag comes at, the next one would end it. But here on the second green-white checkered attempt, it's going to be Velasquez and Llewellyn at the front of this field. That 07 car, we haven't really talked about him at all throughout this race, but he's been strong. Already has a win thus far this season, but getting off to a terrible restart on that inside line. The green flag is back at him. We are racing with 2 laps left to go here at Talladega. Velasquez, who started this race from the pole, is currently leading. Lucas Hoytsman, the number 97 car, looking to get his first win of this season, is right in tow as well. This is going to be a bump draft fest between these two competitors. The 63 of Bryson Exenball already has 4 wins in his back pocket. He doesn't need to force the issue here, but doesn't mean he will not force the issue. Probably not. I think he's still a racer. He's going to go for the win at the end of it all. Hang down that back straightaway for the last second to last time in this race. There comes the white flag this time by, and if they get it, the next flag will end it. Velasquez still leading, coming out of turn at number 3 and 4. Hoytsma running in second. You can see these drivers starting to dice around. They're shaking around, trying to figure out what to do, maybe intimidating their competitors, maybe trying to figure out where to get a run, maybe do a little bit of bump drafting, which with a pack as tense as this one may end in disaster. The white flag is in the air. Only one more lap of racing action here from Talladega Super Speedway, and Charles Velasquez Jr., pole sitter in the number 64 car, finds it at the front of the field. But he's got Lucas Hoytsma, Bryson Exenball, Daniel Llewellyn, Tim Phillips, and a whole lot of other competitors looking to try and usurp him and grab that checkered flag at the very end of this race. Look at the high side. That's the 07 car having to block off a monstrous run from the 13 of Cody Bird. I think those two drivers on the high side probably going to stall each other out. Hoytsma dipping out in front, giving a little bit of a bump to the side of Bryson Exenball. Exenball in the 63 car. He's going to have to run the 64 car, throwing a pretty nasty block there. They're 3 wide, head through the triangle, spinning through Exenball into the wall. A big crash with the 74, and Lucas Hoytsma going to win it at Talladega.
That is about how that was going to happen, I think. We were talking about Lucas Hoytsma a lot earlier, and we thought he was well and truly done and out of it. And here he comes back in to claim a win, and a win he's been looking for a long time. But it didn't come without a few victims. Jonathan Delaney DQ'd at the very end, and, well, a whole series of death and devastation on the way. What a finishing run. What can you say other than that was probably going to happen?
Yeah, I can't say it's the most shocking development in the world, but hey, it's a race at Talladega. Can you really expect any different? Lucas Hoytsma, though, punching his ticket into the playoffs in that number 97 machine after the heartbreaker 2 weeks ago at Bristol. It is going to be a return to victory lane. He's going to grab the checkered flag, and this time Lucas Hoytsma will be able to keep it. At the end of it all, the number 35 of Brian Wortman, who I don't think we talked about at all throughout that race, is going to finish in second. Jim Shoefield, despite that incident on the first green-white checkered attempt, is going to end the second one in third. Looking through the rest of the field, Daniel Llewellyn will finish in P5. That's a pretty good result for the 07. And looking a little bit farther back from there, Hunter Truel, I believe, will be your Dash for Cash winner, taking home $100 at the end of all of this. And we will get further confirmation as to who your Dash for Cash drivers will be at the end of this race here coming into the next round of this championship. But holy cow, Howie, it was a Talladega finish for sure, but it was still exciting nonetheless.
One of those days. Let's break this one down. It is indeed a rewind time. Wasn't anticipating the 97 after a race start and finish like that, ending that way. The 64 up on the front makes a big block into Exenball's way, and he overshoots it by a lane, hoping to have the outside. A big push from the 07. He's now trying to cut it free, and him trying to cut it free is where it's all going to happen. And pretty much everybody here was cleared out by that who didn't make it across the line first. Yeah, that's a That's about everything I expected. Some bold and dramatic attempts to be the hero at Talladega. Can't all be. I want to see what space existed here, whether it was maybe closed and blocked up, or whether the gap was just not going to exist for Daniel Llewellyn here, who is the car in the middle. Gives a bump to the 64, sends him up, and that bump to the 64 sends him up and back down, actually. That's my perspective over there, and that's all she wrote.
That was a Talladega finish for sure, but man, that was still a brilliant race from the drop of the green flag all the way through to the checkered flag. And as we take a look at the slow motion replay of that drama right at the very end, I gotta say to all of you tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment, it was a fun one. At the end of it all, Lucas Hoytsma in the number 97 car crosses that start-finish line to grab his first checkered flag of the season. Brian Workman going to finish in second. Jim Shoefield running at your podium in third. We have Tim Phillips finishing in fourth. Daniel Llewellyn in fifth. Ken Ron ends up in sixth. And number 33 machine, Charles Velasquez Jr., who was involved in that incident, will finish in seventh. Bryson Hexenball not going to get his fourth win, but oh so close at the end of it all. The 63 will be classed in eighth. We have Austin Evie classed in ninth. Noah Woods riding at your top 10 at the end of 119 laps. Hunter Truel, we believe, will be your Dash for Cash winner at the end of this race. We'll look for further confirmation before we wrap up tonight's show here on Maconi Entertainment. Cody Bird in the number 13 car will finish in 12th. Jonathan Delaney in P13. Cliff Mullins in 14th. And Michael Prachik running out your top half of the field.
A few more drivers further down. It was a very, very big run up here. Kyle Amon, it's one of the two. Adam Glatfelter, John K. Kelly, Michael Date, Carlos Fonseca, Steve Benjamin, Jordan Person, Chase Hedge, Cameron Stone, Matthew Boston Wheeler. I know he was DQ'd. A few of these drivers all now retiring out for a bad day. Eric Wineland, Joan Rollins, Devin Madrios, John Williams, Jeremy Clapper-Newell, Cody Goza, Jacob Simpson, Mike Paget, Eddie Rose, and Mason Lowry making out our top 40 here at Talladega. And I think we might need to talk to some of these drivers about the race they had, although they're going to have stories to tell from all over the grid. So how about you get in tune with our P3 finisher first?
Yeah, I think we are going to start off with our P3 finisher of Jim Shoefield, who's now joining us here in the commentary booth. Jim, welcome in and well done on the P3 result. It was an up and down day of racing here at Talladega for you, but how was it out there?
It was pretty crazy, laid back. First two stages, try to avoid all the madness and everything, and then luckily got back up to P3 at the end there.
Yeah, I want to ask you right towards the end of that race with the restart with the first green white checkered attempt that we had. We saw possibly running out of fuel. Was that the other case there as we were about to get the race restarted there?
I would like to blame it on that, but I don't usually start up front too often, so I was trying to hit the gas right at the end of the zone, and right as the 6 got me a little squirrely, and then just kind of lost control there.
You know, actually, on the subject of that, we've raised a lot throughout this broadcast how car-to-car contact, bumper-to-bumper contact here in these Xfinity cars is usually a recipe for a code brand moment. Can you confirm or deny that after your experience here at Talladega?
Oh, definitely a lot of code browns in that race. Obviously, everyone's trying to push hard and get to the front, so I guess a lot of people are used to the Cup car where you can kind of just shove the whole entire race. These are a little bit just kind of tap and let the guy go.
And we'll say one good thing to come out of all this, and next time we'll be seeing this Friday Night Light Series is going to be at Texas on May the 2nd. Won't have to worry about any sort of bump drafting or anything of the sorts, but I believe you will be one of the Dash for Cash drivers. So thoughts heading into that race at Texas in the not too far off future?
Pretty exciting to be able to go for the Dash for Cash. Texas isn't one of my strongest tracks, at least the new version of it. So just going to try to get some laps in, get some practice. hopefully practice some long runs and get some clean racing in.
And practice certainly going to make perfect for you in 1 week's time when the series returns to Texas. Jim Shufield, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth. And before we let you go and celebrate this P3 result here tonight, is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
I'd like to shout out my friends that are watching and my dad that usually watches on a Saturday morning, so he'll hear this a day delayed.
I mean, still tuning into the broadcast. I think you'll take it either way. Jim Shufield, well done. The P3 result here at Talladega. Excited to you back out on the track, competing for $100 at Texas in 1 week's time.
Thank you.
And that right there was our P3 finisher of Jim Shufield. And Howie, I will let you have the chance to speak with our P2 finisher of Brian Wortman.
Brian Wortman, a chaotic up and down race, and you just suddenly ended up right where you needed to be. Tell us a story of how your day went.
Up and down. That's mostly it, because I started in the back, I lost the draft, went a lap down, and I went like the entire first and second stage a lap down, got my lap back after, the stage 2 caution. My car don't draft really well, and don't like to suck up very well. I don't know why, but just stay in the back, let them all wreck. I got involved in 3 of these wrecks. One of them, I cannot believe that that wreck coming off the tri-oval, like 2-3 wrecks ago, before the finish. The 17 spun right in front of me. I thought I can get below him, and of course there was somebody down there right below me. Spun into the inside wall, got motor damage. That was 3.5 minutes, and those last 2 cautions, I got it all fixed, and I cannot believe I can, they hold on and finish second with a torn up race car.
Well, no matter how you did it, this race puts you in line for an opportunity to hopefully go for a dash for cash next week. How are you feeling about your odds?
Possibly good. I don't know. Texas is one of my not good tracks, but I will be there and try to, win it. If not, I try to get there, go in and try to get a good point day like today.
And before we let you go to celebrate your P2, are there any other thank yous or shout outs you want to give?
Just thank you to all my followers out there. Bobby for letting me join this league a few weeks ago. Everyone been nice to me here. I'm so grateful. And if I did cause any issues out there tonight, I'm sorry, but but still, I'm so happy for a P2. And this finish is going to give me so much momentum. Maybe a push to the playoffs later in the year.
Well, a spectacular finish to a spectacular race. Go and enjoy it.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
And just to round off this evening, I think it's about that time we talk to our winner, someone who we thought should have been here a fair bit sooner. Ron, I'll leave you with Lucas Hoitzma.
Yeah, Lucas Hoitzman now joining us in the commentary booth. Lucas, congratulations on the win here at Talladega. How about you talk us through that race?
Yeah, really up and down night for us. Started out toward the front. I think it was 13th starting this race. 40 cars out here. So up toward the front and just kind of worked my way up there. It was a long road to get myself up toward the top 5. And I think it was stage 2 I finally got up there. And then I got involved in something. Slid across the turn 1 apron and found myself back in the 20s again. So I had to work my way back up, fix 30 seconds of damage. But we got that fixed. Found myself inside the top 5 again in stage 3. And then, once again, I think it was about 20 to go, I got clipped by somebody, spun down to the apron in turn 1, and I was 16th, 20 seconds behind the main pack. I thought I was done for. And then that caution came out, and I was able to work my way inside the top 10, and things went my way somehow, and got inside, I think it was 4th after that big restart wreck, and then inside lane had trouble on that final restart, allowed me to get right behind the leader, and somehow with my car, it had to have 2 or 3 minutes of damage. It was so slow, but everybody else was pretty hurt too, and found some luck there coming to the tri-oval. They wrecked outside of me and came across the line first. I couldn't believe it.
See, that's the thing with the Talladega race. You could have a car that's ready for the scrap heap, and you will still be in mint condition compared to some of the other drivers out there. Even a race like this, it was definitely a bit of an attrition-packed one all throughout. And I asked this earlier on with our P3 finisher, and I'll ask you this as well. How sketchy is it whenever you have to do some bump drafting here in these Xfinity cars?
It's pretty bad. Number one, they just get so unsettled, like you said, when they bump. And when you get cars on your quarter panels, it wants to drive in the direction of whatever car is closest to you. So if you're riding down the middle 3 wide, the car's just wobbling all over the place. The aero plays a big factor now. I don't know what iRacing did in the last few years, but these things are a handful at these plate tracks now. So it may look easy on the broadcast and the audience, but these things were crazy all night. I washed off the bottom a few times, almost caused a few wrecks myself, but got lucky there.
I think I remember saying at one point in the very early stages, I think this was either late in stage 1 or very early on in stage 2, that I do not envy your driver's heart rates throughout that race. I think I also described the other cars as handling like soft set jello that was pulled out of a refrigerator a bit too soon during an earthquake. So I think very happy to be in my perspective here in the commentary booth, but I'm sure you're happy to be down there in victory lane. Gonna be running at Texas in 1 week's time. So what are your thoughts heading into that one?
Yeah, just Texas. I like it. Not a lot of people do, but it's pretty fun here on iRacing. So looking forward to it. A nice 1.5 mile track, and it's definitely going to be fun in these cars and the Cup cars. They're both really good at that track, in my opinion. So looking forward to that. But just want to shout out my guys. We were fast tonight. RH Motorsports, everybody over there, Low Drag Esports. We're going to be fast next week at Texas and tomorrow in the Cup race here at Talladega. So I was excited for that. Excited to get back out there with the boys, and we'll see what happens.
And I'll be on the call for that Cup race tomorrow evening, so I'll be keeping an eye out for you, Lucas. Well done on the victory here in the Xfinity, and good luck in the Cup car tomorrow.
Thank you.
And that right there was Lucas Hoytsma, our winner at the end of this race here at Talladega. Howie, that was a Talladega race for sure, but that was an absolute gem of a race as well.
Talladega is Talladega. I find plate racing to be particularly unusual, a particularly strange beast, but that is the sort of race that it breeds, ones where you really don't know what's going to happen till the end. Would like to correct the record, because we've got news from Bobby Anderson about the Dash for Cash. I believe it's limited to the chartered drivers who paid our entry. So the unofficial participants next week are Hunter Trull, Tim Phillips, Jim Schofield, and Ken Rahm. We'll have an official confirmation next week, but that sounds like the 4 that are going to have their chance to play for the $100. But that's Talladega.
Yep, it was certainly a Talladega race here tonight, and these drivers are going to have to re-rack and get ready for Texas in 1 week's time. Going to be changing out the scenes at Talladega for shooting some guns up in the air with a 10-gallon hat in victory lane at Texas in 1 week's time. As he said, Hunter Trull, our Dash for Cash winner at the end of this race here at Talladega, along with Jim Schofield, Tim Phillips, and Ken Ron, going to be your drivers fighting for $100 in 1 week's time. And hopefully all of you tuning into this broadcast tonight will be able to tune into that broadcast on May the 2nd here exclusively on Maconi Entertainment. But as for this broadcast here this evening for the full-length Cup Challenge Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series at Talladega, I think that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, and Howie Burrows doing double duty, working the comms and the cams with me on today's broadcast, I say thank you also very much for watching this presentation on Maconi Entertainment tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the